that like manufacturers certainly aren't going to come back if they think that the tariffs could be lifted any day, right? Like that, there's certainly not, like, you have to really show them that their bottom line is going to be larger.
We have surveys from the New York Fed, the Philadelphia Fed, and the Dallas Fed from manufacturing companies. All of them find that these manufacturing companies are freaking the fuck out about tariffs and do not believe that tariffs will help their business. Do you consider people summarily deported under the Alien Enemies Act as receiving due process? Do you still consider that due process?
Probably, yeah.
Why would they be objecting to any of this shit? Like,
I mean, I understand there's almost like no line Trump could cross that would make you regret your vote for him, but like, I mean, number one, it does seem like
they're on exactly what he said.
First of all, it does seem like there are a decent amount of. I know, but your promises are insane. That's why, like, I try to debate you on the merits of these policies all the time.
Guess what? This is what democracy is.
I know, I understand you don't want to engage with the merits of any of these claims. That's why you still do. If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description.
They moved back to the south. Anyway, yeah, we'll start it off. So first 100 days of Trump has been here, came and saw and went, I guess. Some people think it's been great. Other people think it's been the worst thing since Hitler. What is everybody's takes on this? How are we doing? Average, debate, enjoy. You can start us off. Tell us what you think.
All right. I wrote this in the car while I was driving for work, so it's a little bit not so great. But first 100 days, I got the good, the bad, and we don't know yet because we haven't seen how it's going to turn out. So the good, the anti-academia movement. What we saw was an executive order recently against disparate impact, which is the start and reason for affirmative action, racial quota, things of that nature. We saw a bunch of executive orders and anti-DEI activity in different government facilities go away, the push against gender theory, the attack on law firms and activist judges, and the anti-Jewish actions on college campuses have all been good things that generally we like if we know the full story on these. The judges thing, or the lawsuit thing, I haven't heard a good argument defending that online. I'm prepared to give it. The border, fantastic job. He proved we don't need any new legislation, any new money, any more money spent on judges to close the border up and make it secure. Middle East, in terms of Gaza and Israel, very much like that, and I really like the trade war against China and Russia in particular with the tariffs. Energy production is up, and we're projecting to have the highest energy production of U.S. history in 2025 based on Trump's policies as of last month, and exporting. We could get better, but we're building up our energy sector to be able to export to Europe and Japan, which was what announced. The bad, inflation. Trump's inflation numbers right now are sitting on par in polling with what Biden's were at his worst point. He is failing miserably right now in terms of the economy. I understand that this could turn around if those 18 deals in the tube get approved, but they aren't approved right now. We're at day 100, not day 170. So as of right now, we have no approved deals. We have 80 countries talking. We have a drastic, awful trade situation that's leading to the stock market being in a pretty bad place. Pulling back on propping up the world's national security. I am a big interventionist, and the fact that Trump is hurting, and I know Petal hates this word, but our soft power with our friends is not a good thing in the long run, even though I'm not doom and gloom and thinking our allies are going to abandon us for China, especially when China's slapping 100% tariffs on Canada and Mexico's flirting with tariffs on their steel right now. So lots of mistakes and errors. If you go by actions taken by the Trump administration, I don't know if we're seeing more errors per capita, but if you go by time frame in the first 100 days, no other administration in my lifetime has made this many large errors in 100 days. So that being said, it's probably the speed he's moving, but we're seeing a fuck ton of them. And then finally, pending the Supreme Court decision, the expedition and removal of Garcia could potentially be very bad. I think that we still need to see a little bit more in terms of that, but from what it looks like, if we need to bring him back and remove the withholding order with a chance to appeal is the right way, then I think that was a mistake. Now there is the mixed bag, and I have a couple things on there. If we can get these tariff deals from the reciprocal tariffs, those will be good. We'll have restructured trade, less trade against us. Now, people like to bring up the fact, like, Gibbs goes to a strip club and spends money. He gets our entertainment. He spends his money. That's fair trade. Well, when the strip club earns his money, where do they turn around and spend it? They turn around and spend it at Gibbs competition and tell their employees, we'll tax you 20% if you spend that money at Gibbs store. You have to go to his competition. That is not fair trade. What we're getting is a one-sided trade deal. And again, we do get cheap goods out of it, but our goods are not being bought. And that can be fixed and will be fixed in terms of energy and cars. That's why the UAE signed on to the car tariffs. The other thing I would say is a mixed bag are the legal challenges to erode the president's power over time. Humphrey's executor, emoluments, not impeachments, I'm sorry. What was the one where you don't spend all the money Congress allocates to you? I can't remember that offhand.
Impoundment Act, right?
Impoundment, thank you.
Yeah.
And a couple other ones that we're seeing right now, especially most recently, as of last week, disparate impact theory is now being forced out. So a lot of these things that eroded the president's actual constitutional powers in the past are finally being pushed back against in a way that I agree with. So I would say I give him a...
Repeat the last sentence.
Yeah, a lot of things that eroded the president's power over the last maybe 60 years. The post-Watergate era, which people generally agree is a bad time for policy and rulings, a lot of those things are starting to go away as per the actions of the Trump administration. I would say if I had to grade his first 100 days, I'd give him a C+.
Okay. Also, quickly, fan of sending SEAL Team 6 in to get Garcia? You want to send in SEAL Team 6? Tyler?
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Monday night, somebody said that facilitate means we send in SEAL Team 6 and assassinate El Salvadorians until we get Garcia back. That's what facilitate means. That's totally not effectuating at all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go with Big Papa Armadillo.
Yeah. I am not crazy about the movements in education. I think some of them, I don't really have the strongest opinion on the DEI on the, what's the word? When you accept people into your school.
Affirmative action.
You are, well, I'm not looking for that, but good. People get the vibe. Okay, people understand what I'm talking about. That part I'm not as particular about. I do take issue with the lists of information that can't be a part of research. I think it's just wrong. I think it's I don't want to say anti-science. It's anti-research. Anti-basic research. I think we shouldn't be stopping scientific research into things like women's health, one of the most under-researched aspects of science today, I would argue. There are lists of words that you're not even allowed to have in grant proposals. I think that's ridiculous. I think it shows, a disrespect for educational institutions, which I understand people. It's kind of a love-hate situation. There are problems with a lot of colleges in America, and especially the cost of them. But I just don't think ceasing all research that relates to women, that relates to people of color, that relates to people with disabilities is the way to respond to that. I think the tariff situation is messy. I think Trump's kind of just a messy bitch for all of it for the first 100 days. I just feel like he's being tacky. He's kind of just stampeding everything. I appreciate that at least we're seeing some of our checks and balances actually work. I wish more were working. I wish we had politicians that had fucking spines for once in our life. Sorry, I'm going down. I'm trying to go down the list because I wrote down everything you were mentioning. Energy production, I know nothing about. You say, sorry, this is an opening. Bro, I think he's a messy bitch. That's my opening. I think he's a messy fucking bitch. I don't like how he's ceasing research in a ton of topics. I think that's ridiculous. And I wish politicians would stand up to corruption on either side. That's my opening.
All right, that's the scientific term for it. Messy bitches. On to another
messy bitches.
Nonfon.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of bad things and a lot done in a lot of bad ways. I mean, even I was skeptical that Trump was going to either invoke the Alien Enemies Act or go as far as he has gone with the tariffs. But here we are. And, I do think it is telling, and even Tyler is willing to mention this a little bit, that a lot of this is done through executive action. So, not only might I disagree with cutting certain USAID programs. The fact that it's done within the executive branch and not by Congress on, under questionable legal grounds. I don't know where that is in lawsuit limbo right now. It's pretty bad, and it seems like the same thing is happening with a lot of deportations, and the tariffs as well are done under questionable legal authority. We'll see how the Supreme Court ends up ruling on that. But it really just seems like most of the things Trump is doing are just trying to get closer to unitary executive theory, while it's tanking the economy on the way. That's all I got to say.
All right. The ghost of Dick Cheney rises again with unitary executive theory. It's good to know. All right, Petal.
Hey, all right, Mag headquarters stepping in. I think it's predictable that Trump's voters love what's going on, and the people who didn't vote for Trump hate what's going on. Mind-blowing stuff. As far as I'm concerned, he gets an A+ from me. He's delivering on all the stuff that I cared about. Immigration definitely being the biggest one. Changing the status quo of international trade. Obviously, he's working on that. Eliminating the Department of Education. That's something that has been a pipe dream. The idea of getting to reform education is something that I think that DOE's existence kind of blocks. So I like the idea of the states getting more power back, seeing a little bit more variance in the way schools are run. I mean, time flies when you're having fun. It's already been 100 days. I can't believe it.
Good. All right. So what? Tyler, we got. All right. Moving on. Tiberius. I had a whistle waiting there. We lost it. But go on. Tiberius. Here you go.
Shit. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think most people know that I kind of come into this conversation being with a loaded gun, so I'm going to try to grade on a curve here, and I'm still probably going to have some issues, but at least I might be a little more succinct with them. Also, I don't pay attention to politics nearly to the degree that I used to, so if I'm out of the loop, I'm out of the loop. I apologize, but I've ceased the ability to care to the level that I used to. All right, number one, tariffs. I've been pretty strongly pro-tariff for, 12 years at least. Number one, I think he's coming off as incredibly flaky, unfortunately, with this. It's like, I really liked him in his first term on the tariffs situation, but it's like, all right, you're in, then you're out, then you're in, then you're out, and it's like, oh, you're going to make deals. Well, you haven't really conveyed to me what kind of deals you're looking for. You just said tariffs were awesome. So I feel if I had ever voted for this person, I would feel a little betrayed. But here's the part that really gets me. All right, cool, you want to make deals with people. Why is China on the list? Of all the people that need to be told to shove it with every intense importance, I thought you were the guy to do it. You were the guy who changed the conversation in Washington to actually treat China as an adversary rather than as a piggy bank. Thank Christ for that, but why are you not continuing on with that? That bothers me a lot. Education, academia, I think everyone knows where I am on DEI, so I'll at least hit the... I don't have a problem with Republicans going after academics because it's like the people they hate the most, and I get it. On the other side of that, though, they closed the Naval Planning Center. The people who, design the doctrine 50 years in advance and, hey, we're going to build the ships for the doctrine. They closed that about 3 weeks ago, and I don't know if that was the smartest move. Middle East. Okay, pro-Israel, but the Democrats are pro-Israel, so you're not really winning me here. What are you doing about Iran? You were the guy that was going to, destroy Iran just with our pocketbook, and you were working really well on that first term. But it's been crickets on Iran with this guy. How about Turkey? You were the one who wanted to make a deal with the Turks, and I haven't heard shit about it the entire time. You were the guy that was going to do it. So just to the point of, all right, immigration, the last one. When it comes to the deportations, the only problem I have with it is there's a lot of talk about jurisprudence and whether he's doing that enough. I'm not informed enough to know, but it's a concern of mine. And then as far as the immigration, I'm cool if you make it where it's very clear no one wants to be here anymore because you're telling everybody it's like, hey, you're not going to be treated the same way. But if he would just say, please repeal the 1967 immigration protocols to where we just don't have to take asylees, it's a win. And I would be 100% okay with this, but no one's talking about it. So the conversation messy bitch was earlier. I just feel like this is a way-in over your head situation unless convinced otherwise. It's only the first 100 days, so I'm welcome to be changed. But in over his head is how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll start with everybody's favorite, I guess, today, since there's probably going to be a few topics we're going to talk about, since it's first 100 days and there's a plethora of things. But let's just go ahead and get the fun one that we talk about. It feels like once a week on every panel. Tariffs out of the way first, and then we can move on to the more fun ones. Yeah, so I actually kind of agree with Tiberius here. It seems like things are kind of flaky. I wish he was holding down, but it seems like he's kind of giving in to some of this due to like market pressure. Not letting really things develop. Thoughts on this overall?
Bad, horrible. Uncertainty is bad. Okay, I'm not.
Trade deals.
Yeah.
Right.
Even
so
so-
it's not about the tariffs. It's not like the tariffs are not the end goal. They are the means to an end goal.
Hold
So,
on,
like,
Fintuple,
he's
you
flaky on
do.
tariffs.
I
It
guess I
doesn't
just feel
indicate
like-
that we're not actively pursuing the end goal, which is restructuring the status quo of international trade.
Fintuple, you this whole time have been arguing we need to bring manufacturing back and all that. Like, what?
Yeah.
How is that going to happen
and you
if these
argue that
tariffs
there's
don't
no,
stay in
no
place?
reason to even try or bother. So
So I have a
Take that position.
multifaceted view on that, but I don't even believe these tariffs will help manufacturing, like you seem to think they do. But you recognize that, like,
Okay.
where you at least want more tariffs to stay.
this time, here we go.
You at least do want more tariffs to be in place permanently than 2020 levels, right?
Well, I think there means to an end. I
What do
want
you mean
manufacturing
more
back. It
tariffs?
seems like they would work to do that.
Uh,
But like I
You
said,
did
when you
not
say
really
like,
answer-
Trump's been flaky because like, is it tariffs or this or tariffs or that? We're restructuring trade deals. There's like there are a lot of variables involved here. There's different countries for getting different deals. Like the idea
no, I
that it's
understand,
gonna
but
look
we
flaky
recognize like any
on that
like.
isn't really indicative that we're not pursuing a like meaningful end with it. That's all
So,
I'm
but a
saying.
tariff that's not in place is not going to bring manufacturing back. Like
Well,
you recognize that, right?
that's assuming no other variables, right? That's the point, though.
Well,
there's
is that
other
not
I
the
variables.
don't-
same
what other
assumption to
var-
make,
what
no
other
other
meaningful-
variables unless there are other variables? That
So
are,
wait,
like,
you're
written
saying
into
tariffs
it?
can't bring
Or
them
are you
back?
just
Then
supposed
there's
to-
just nothing that can possibly bring
That's
them back.
absolute-
I
that's
mean,
not-
if
yeah, you
that's
have
the
a really
argument you guys
great-
want to take. Good luck getting back in power. Yeah,
You
go
have
ahead.
you have a really great understanding of what I'm trying to argue right now, Pentuple. So I'm happy to set up an argument with you where I can go over my entire view of why I don't think trade is the primary driver of the decline in manufacturing employment, and why I think that tariffs are not likely to help manufacturing because they harm exports and harm inputs and tariff intermediate goods as well. But for right now, what I'm trying to get you to focus on is that there's some trade-off between whether or not we get a deal from this country and how high we tariff that country. Presumably, if we don't tariff that country super high because we get a deal with them, well, our manufacturing is still just going to be offshore to that country.
Okay.
Okay,
I was
so you
responding to
recognize.
Tiberius saying that the flakiness on tariffs is not indicative that Trump has no end goal in mind and that he's not still using these tariffs to pursue that end goal.
Can I play the
all this
role of
other
the
stuff is
simpleton for a minute?
Very fun.
Please.
Yeah.
Like,
Good.
I'm going to play the role of the simpleton. What was the campaign about? Tariffs. Best word in the fucking English language, right?
Well,
Like,
sure,
quote,
but
unquote.
that's the point that I'm trying to make, though, is that like I'm not like just blindly like, oh, it's all about the tariffs. The tariffs are an end goal to restructure the status quo of international trade.
I understand what you're arguing. Well, yeah, you've argued it before. I'm not going against that. What I'm going at is that playing the role of a simpleton. Trump told me X, and now you're telling me the thing that we're after is actually Y.
You're obviously not listening to Trump very well, because the whole point isn't that it's about
Most
tariffs.
people
It's
aren't.
about bringing
Why you said
manufacturing
it's
back. That's one of the explicit goals that he mentions. It's about restructuring our trade deals. It's about getting them to the table. That's
so-
what do you what
My
is-
point
okay, you-
is that there's
I'm
a
not-
trade-off
look,
between
I'm
your
not
two
trying to be a
goals.
kind about this. I'm
I don't
really not.
understand why that even matters.
Well, I mean, by the doctrine, it's largely that tariffs are the way to get industry back. Why are you looking for a deal? Like the instrument itself was the
I
tariffs.
agree. In a lot of in some cases, we will probably keep tariffs in some of these cases. But what I'm trying to say is like there's a lot of variables, and when you're negotiating, like moving on those points is not like conceding the entire negotiation.
So
Right, and
there's
I'm
a
not
means
saying
to
that
an end.
either. Like we've had this conversation personally as it is, right? So I'm not trying to relitigate, and I'm also not trying to snowball you.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here, just because I am also a little bit of your opinion here, but I think I'm just to make sure I understand your point, Pentuple. Which I do agree with on this aspect. It sounds to me like you're saying manufacturing is the end goal. Whether tariffs accomplish this or trade deals accomplish this, it doesn't really fucking matter. And I would agree with you, right, on that side.
Tariffs are probably how it is accomplished.
Right.
But
However,
it's not like I'm attached to tariffs. That's not like the point. They're a
understand.
means to an end.
Do you also think, like, because I'm kind of the opinion that, like, I wish Trump had doubled down whenever people were like, because I think that Nonfon has a point, even though he's wrong, in my opinion, right, about the speculative being bad, right? I think people speculating, oh, are the tariffs going to be here? Then tomorrow, oh, well, the market's declined, so now I'm pulling the tariffs. And then tomorrow, the next day, he's like, we're putting them back on. I do think that's not necessarily good. I'd much rather be like, nah, fuck y'all. Some shit's going to suck for a couple weeks or
I
months.
agree.
And then, we're going to see what these tariffs are doing, and we'll reevaluate in like 2 months or something. That would be my preferred aspect on that. However, it seems to me it is a little flaky when he's like, oh no, the market's crashing. A little bit of panic. We gotta readjust the day after I
I
announced
think it's
it.
important that we had a 90-day pause, right? Like, and it wasn't a concession of it, but you do have a point that like manufacturers certainly aren't going to come back if they think that the tariffs could be lifted any day, right? Like that, there's certainly not, like, you have to really show them that their bottom line is going to be larger, like by coming back to American manufacturing here. That's the only way to make that number larger. It's definitely like, in play. I hear what you're saying for sure, but we're all judging this in real time. So I think that we've got to let it play out. We're still in the middle of this 90-day pause. It'll get a lot worse for me if we go through this 90-day and they just extend the 90 days. The trade deals aren't being like, that's certainly not the future I want to be in. But we'll see what happens.
So
Yeah, but I agree.
Wait, just real quick, by the way.
Say that deadline is.
We have surveys from the New York Fed, the Philadelphia Fed, and the Dallas Fed from manufacturing companies. All of them find that these manufacturing companies are freaking the fuck out about tariffs and do not believe that tariffs will help their business. They expect orders to fall. They expect prices paid to rise. That's the only. They expect capital expenditures to go down as well.
So to push back against that, right? Because I had this argument earlier in the thing, is in the little group chat that we have, is that just because one group is suffering, another group might be benefiting. There's going to be secondary markets created. I mean, do you not agree that that's not how the economy generally works? Whenever like one group is hurting due to a policy, another group may or may not be benefiting that hadn't been benefiting for a while.
I mean,
like, that seems.
In general, it's actually like a fine, like heuristic. Like that's a fine thing that is, generally true, which is, by the way, relevant to tariffs, because if tariffs protect, domestic manufacturing, they're going to hurt other people in the United States, like exporters and like the service sector. But these are surveys specifically of the manufacturing sector. And, it is relevant that like ordinarily a tariff would increase producer surplus. It would increase, how the domestic manufacturing and things like that, but we're not placing tariffs on the final goods, right? We're placing tariffs on what are called intermediate goods, which are goods used to make other goods, and all that does is that harms businesses as well. That is just equivalent to taxing businesses. You're just raising like the marginal cost for businesses to use these materials. That doesn't actually help basically anyone.
Tyler, I see you over here saying,
bring it to Papa. Okay, so let Papa break it down for you children. There's 6 tariffs. Now, Petal, first of all, I'm going to go at you here. We're talking about Trump's first 100 days, not what could happen down the road. Right now, what we're seeing is an unstable crashing market due to those tariffs. If you are correct, which you very well could be, then I'll recant my statements. And again, it's looking like you might be. We have 17 deals on the table waiting for approval. One of them is just one step away from getting approved. And the 18th one, and then we have 60 other nations waiting in line, including China, to talk to us. So you could be right. But in Trump's first 100 days, the chaos that has resulted from these tariffs has not been paid off yet. Now, you are also right that there's $3.5 to $4 trillion in manufacturing from countries abroad and Apple investing in our country. But those manufacturing jobs aren't going to be here for a couple of years. So we only we did have a decline of manufacturing jobs to I want to say it was every month for the last 2 years we were losing manufacturing jobs. Last month we added 8,000, but Nonfon's right. A lot of these companies are saying they're going to have to start firing people, and if we don't have another company rise up to take that place, we're going to start seeing losses in manufacturing jobs. We need these tariff deals to go ASAP. I think if Trump does not turn his economic approval around, it's going to get to the point of no return, and he's going to lose the reputation he has. He is telling people you're going to see some short-term pain. It's going to hurt. Stick with me and trust me on this. And I know everyone that hates Trump just completely ignores that, but for the 6 different tariffs that we see the ones that had great success but also got slapped down by the Senate in terms of Canada, which were the threats to our country due to fentanyl. We ended up getting great success out of Panama, Mexico, Colombia, and a couple other countries with those. Canada, we had an absolute failure, an embarrassment, and it probably led to Canada having a left-winger take the election. So that one you could easily say backfired on Trump. Then you go into the 10%. tariff that is being announced as a readjustment to comparative advantage to undo the damage of 30 years of unfair trade policy. That one's debatable. I don't like how Trump's going about that one because he's basically saying this is getting slapped down. You need to ignore it. You need to not tariff us back for however long we decide to leave it on. It's basically telling other nations they can't do to us what we're doing to them, which is Trump's entire fucking complaint in the first place. It's DEI through tariffs. The third one, the one I like the most, is the reciprocal tariffs, because that was a threat. That was not the way it was implemented. How you traditionally do tariffs, Smoot-Hawley and several others, is over a 10-year period. You slowly build them up so you can allow the markets to change with these slow tariffs that you're announcing over a long term. Trump slapped massive tariffs on. They lasted less than a day because those were meant to be a threat. He said it right out the gates. It would be much easier if every other country dropped their tariffs against us and restructured their trade deals to be fair. I would rather go that route, but this is what they're forcing me to do. And then they had months after he announced it to drop their tariffs. And the only one that did was Israel, like 2 days before the tariffs came out, because they were pressured to. Like, all these countries had the chance to respond. Those particular tariffs I stand behind because I like them, as well as the UAE ones because of the recent changes. Trump made it so that if you assemble your car in the United States, you get a 15% credit on that 25% car tariff. That, to me, is showing he's forcing car manufacturing back with that. That's why the United Auto Workers is completely on board with that tariff as well. So when you go through these, you got to start looking at each individual policy. I think 2 have been successes, and I think 4 have been failures.
Oh, that's interesting you bring up the UAE. That kind of goes back into somebody's point earlier. I don't know who said the quotes. Like, I guess we could move on from the immigration since it's a horse we beat to death. Not immigration. We move on from tariffs since it's a horse we beat to death. But I'm sure we'll talk about it more in this next thing. But let's talk about if these people really are allies. Is disrupting the world order really a good or a bad thing, or is it terrible? Are we losing the American hegemony, or is it the start of the new American empire? Are we just losing the free trade? What's happening here? Do we like what he's doing with foreign policy? And you could include tariffs in this.
I mean,
Is
yeah, I
UAE
think
our ally?
obviously. I think obviously, tariffing our allies, even once we had like trade surpluses with, obviously removes a lot of the goodwill that we had, with them, and that it's not a good thing to an extent. USAID as well. It's probably gonna, that's gonna lead to some opportunity for China to start, filling these gaps, and I don't think that's a good thing for our world power. Also, even things like, even if you agree mostly with Trump's position on Ukraine, doing things like in the UN, voting with Russia and like their allies, that shit is insane to me. Even if you think that Trump is going to eventually get peace in Ukraine, that shit seems unbelievably unhinged to me. Even if it has like no, obviously the UN is not ultra powerful or anything, but I think that sends a bad signal at the very least.
Yeah, when I say messy bitch, all around messy bitch, I feel like Trump is he just comes across really unreliable. He comes across like he's going to pull the rug out from under any ally at any time. I think
maybe that's a good thing.
Well, see, I
Maybe they shouldn't
understand
feel
why
so
people like
comfortable relying on us.
Yeah, like I understand why people like his more aggressive approach. It's just I think it's too aggressive for a nation. It's too aggressive to be put on the shoulders of your nation's citizens, which it might very well be.
You're a friend that like just walks in your house without knocking, and you're like, "Look, I love you. You're like, we're cool and stuff, but just like, please knock when you come in. Like, just stop treating my house like it's your house. Like, I love you. You can come over anytime you want. Just like knock. You know what I mean? That's like the kind of friends that Europe is.
I have
like,
I have
stop
some
walking
friends.
in my house,
I
going
have
into my
some
pantry.
friends who I'm like, yo,
I'm not home.
back the fuck off. But I have not really, but I have other friends who like I happily let into my house. I let eat out of my fridge. They're my friends. I care about them. If they're hungry,
I get
fucking
the one
eat,
that
bro.
we do that with.
I'm not eating it. It's not like they're ripping food out of my mouth while we speak. It's not like
they do
they're
that. We can't say nothing.
just murdering me in my
What are we
sleep,
talking
But
take
yeah,
this-
I do actually think.
I'm sorry.
You go.
Finish out the good Tiberius.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, not to mention soft power again, but I do think, I do think it's just extremely it's an extremely aggressive approach from America on on all counts, including with the tariffs. I feel like it's running America more like a business than it is a nation of people who actually have lives that they're trying to live while he, makes all of these insane moves, which may or may not actually pay off. So I just feel like losing our allies is another sign of how fucking messy this bitch really is. Thank you.
It is.
All right. I'm going to take this region by region. I don't like the allies conversation, though, because the United States only has 2 allies, and that's Britain and Australia, and everybody else is some level of something else.
Israel.
I wouldn't call Israel an ally.
Greatest ally.
Yeah, anyway.
You don't like France either?
Yeah, I thought Israel was going to be the first one you said.
No. Anyway, let me hit this real quick, though. When it comes to Europe...
Oh, yeah, thanks for following,
the
Ninja. I
Europeans
appreciate
are a
it,
pain in
Ninja.
the ass, and they're like our retarded stepchildren sometimes, but the reality is that we have a very, very strong choice, and Trump's almost going the exact opposite way I would want to go about this. If you want to get the Europeans on your side, you do need a carrot and a stick. The carrot would be, hey, look, we agree with you that the Russians suck, but we're not going to defend you from Russia when you keep buying their oil. So here's a tariff, and if you don't like it, get off. That's the approach that I want to see from this White House when it comes to the Europeans, is that get them off Russian oil, and then we can have a chat about kicking Russia in the ass. But we're not doing that. We're just basically pissing in everybody's Cheerios. So yeah, a little bit of soft power knockout. Africa, it doesn't really matter to anybody, so we'll just jump. Middle East is that I kind of already covered that in my intro. Where's the threats against Iran? Like, are we going to bury these bastards finally yet or not?
Well, it's going to
one...
bomb the shit out of them today, is what he said.
Are we talking? I thought this was just Europe. We're getting.
No,
to
you
the
can.
Middle East.
You can.
I was just gonna go over everybody, but yeah. Long story short, Middle East is kind of a mess for me. Nothing about the Turks, nothing about Iran. Would like to see that. Asia, this is the anti-China guy. Nothing outside of the reciprocal tariffs, and of course we heard there was going to be a deal the next day, or 2 days later. Excuse me. All right. Where else we got? Anywhere that matters or anywhere that he's been like really big on. Best case scenario, South America is trying to reorient the relationship with them, but we're still in a working progress kind of conversation. I either have negative to say about him, or I'm like, all right, still to be determined. Like this has not been a very strong foreign policy for me.
As far as the Iran front, he rejected their offer on their new nuclear deal, and then told them. And then Vance today said that if they keep supplying the Houthis, we're gonna bomb the shit out of them. I think was almost the exact quote. So yeah, not a fan of Iran. I don't think they are. But,
I didn't say they were. I'm just waiting for them. It's like, hey, if you guys keep pulling the shit, we're bombing Karg Island. Like I'm waiting for that conversation.
Did you go?
Did you have thoughts here?
No, I was pointing at Tyler because Tyler was trying to.
I didn't want everyone to get their stuff out first before I dropped the knowledge.
Oh my god!
Oh, I was just gonna say maybe I'm too gay for all of these tariffs and this aggressive policy.
Well, okay,
that's why I interrupted. I was like, maybe I'm too gay for it. Like I just in my mind, I'm like, why can't we all just be friends? Why can't we just be nice to one another?
Well, let me bring up another tariff thing. All right, so we have been arguing. People have been arguing that we've been having a trade war with Canada, and then I found out today that fucking China has 100% tariff on a bunch of shit with Canada. And, they're seem to be over there sucking China's dick while they're over here trying to fight us because we gave them some reciprocal tariffs. It doesn't seem like fair trade. What's our fans of Nonfon? You're the one who hates what we're doing with our tariffs. Fair. Explain why they're willing to suck on China's bean, but they won't suck on their neighbor America's. What do we have to do to get a Suki?
I mean, I don't know exactly how much Canada is sucking off China, but I mean, look, the argument is just that tariffs are just like not optimal. Even if there are unfair trading practices going on, like tariffs usually just kind of make things worse. Free trade is just goated. Globalization is just goated. Like it's that simple. Okay, I can draw you the tariff graph, and like the graph for why tariffs are bad is the same for reciprocal tariffs, or if there's unfair trading practices, as it is with a regular tariff. Like the consumer producer surplus, it's the same. It's the same. Okay.
So, trade practice that I am a huge fan of is sanctioning people. So, essentially, Nonfon, what you're arguing
Here we go with
is
some
we
bullshit.
should be economically isolationist in order to preserve the free market?
Wait, repeat that. Sorry. I mean,
Are
you
you
made this point
arguing we
about
should
the
be
sanctions.
economically isolationist to preserve the free market?
No, I mean, no. I don't see how that follows from what I've said.
So why
Like,
can't we tariff? Why can't we sanction? Why can't we go after people that do bad actions on the world stage? If Russia invades its neighbor Ukraine, why can't we sanction their oil? Why can't we tariff their
well,
products?
I mean, we've had this discussion before. Some things are good and some things are bad. I support doing good things. I don't like
But
doing bad things.
Sanctions
So the
do
sanctions,
much more for the economy to hurt us,
no,
especially oil
no.
prices.
How much
Yes,
did we
they
trade? How much do we trade with
Absolutely.
Russia? Absolutely not.
Not
You think?
much. But
You
as
think
soon
the?
as that, hold on. Wait, it's not about our trade. It's about the world's supply of oil. As soon as we cut off one of the major suppliers of oil and tell our allies not to trade with them anymore, the acceptable oil that we have to buy now goes up in price because it's less of a supply for us to buy. We saw that. Joe Biden was saying that. Joe Biden was saying that the price of gas spikes was the fault of Putin.
First
Wait,
of all,
hold on. I got a question. Wait, are you trying to? First of all, all right. I think tariffs and sanctions are very different things. It sounds like you're trying to argue that sanctions work, and then I just think about Cuba and North Korea and the fact that they still exist today, despite 60 years.
Oh, but they're fucked.
Are they though? See,
Yeah.
Here's the difference.
Cuba's
right?
in 1960 still.
Yes,
North
here's the
Korea's in
difference.
1970.
Here's the difference, though, right? Like they're at zero or they're low, but they've been surviving. So any kind of gain they have is a massive gain now, right?
We're not
So,
gonna destroy the nation.
so they're
Hold on,
basically
let me- I got
indestructible.
one
They're
more point.
basically indestructible. So basically, what you're saying is we have now weather tested these two countries via sanctions. So that doesn't sound like it's working too good.
It worked just fine.
Well, wait. Let me push back against this a little bit. Like, I think the trade-off here is that we can cut somebody out and treat them like Cuba, treat them to some degree like Venezuela, and we can largely do that with a few others that we've subjected this shit to. Or we can go the opposite way, where we basically try to free trade our way into diplomatic success. This was our plan with China. That plan failed spectacularly. We literally empowered our biggest geopolitical rival. So, sanctions working, depending on your objective, I would say hell yes. I would love to leave the Russians in the last century. Please, let's do that.
That's my point, actually, is right now, when Ukraine is being invaded, we cannot fully punish Russia by sanctioning their oil, tariffing them, because it would hurt the EU economy. Right now, the second largest importer of second largest country they import energy from is still Russia. In 2024, they spent more on Russian oil and gas than they did in the Ukrainian war effort. They are funding Russia's war effort. By doing trade with Russia to get slightly cheaper products, we are funding our enemies to go into Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel. We are propping our enemies up for cheaper cell phones.
There is also a trade-off in that countries generally don't want to go to war with other countries when they're economically independent. There seems to be at least mixed evidence that interdependence in trade leads to more peace between nations. I mean, obviously not total world peace or anything, but there is a trade-off in that. If we're completely cut off from China, why wouldn't they invade Taiwan? What the fuck are we going to do to China except go to full-scale war? Like,
they don't have the money. If we sanction China, if we tariff them, if we force people to stop doing business with them on a united trade front, which is exactly what we're doing with EU, Canada, and Mexico, we cut them off from the world's economy. We isolate them the same way we did with Cuba, the same way we did with Venezuela. And these countries become stagnant.
For one, we could stop trading with China. That wouldn't entirely isolate them, however. Like, I don't know, maybe we'll see Trump will get some magical deal that would have been that's going to be basically the TPP to try to isolate China with our own Asia trading bloc or whatever. But China is still going to trade with a ton of countries in South Africa, a ton of countries in Africa, and a ton of countries in South America. Probably Europe, too. I think part of the issue with Trump negotiating with Europe right now is that Europe doesn't want to have a fucking trade war with China because they like all the goods that they get from China. So I think if we cut off China, China is absolutely still going to be rich enough to invade Taiwan. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely, they probably will be for the next 20 years. But the fact that they are rich enough is because of us. Right now, it's going to hurt China much more than us in the trade war. They're expecting to lose 10 to 20 million jobs in just a quarter. That'd be like us losing 5 million jobs in a quarter. That's fucking huge. On top of that, their fucking currency is fighting. They're having a fucking real estate problem right now. All sorts of shit's going bad with China. Now, Tiberius. Well, kind of what Gibbs was alluding to a little bit with Iran. Trump is being very, very, very vicious with Iran. He's bombing the Houthis. He's telling them multiple times if they don't do exactly what he says, he's bombing. He's forcing them not to have nuclear energy at all right now. I think one person spoke out about that. and then corrected themselves the next day. In whole, I think it was Steve Witkoff that did that. In whole, I would say that Iran is getting the boot right now, and us signing some sort of deal with them is to get them. They stopped funding Hamas. They backed off of the Houthis. Lebanon's not doing anything right now because Israel went in there and completely crushed Hezbollah. So
they lost power in Syria.
Yeah, the seven front war against Israel that was being funded by Iran is not nearly to the extent anymore since the Trump administration started putting pressure on them. We have gone almost as far, like, they just had a giant explosion on their docks. So either that's extreme incompetence on Iran's part, or Israel did that to send a message to them. They have no air defenses. After they launched whatever 70 drones or whatever at Israel, Israel went in and destroyed all of their air defenses. They are completely isolated sitting ducks right now. They know it, and that's why they dropped all the fucking problems with Israel after that. I really think that we're putting the boots to them.
Okay, so there's a level where I will give you some of this for sure. Another level where I can say I'm arguing from at least a level of ignorance because I can't keep up with all this shit anymore. And then there's another level where we've been trending this way for a while too. So there's one of those deals where I'm not sure if he deserves a lot of credit here. I think the Israelis did a really good job last year of just like neutering Hezbollah. So like I can't give this this rolling ball to Trump because it was literally during the Biden administration when we saw some of this. Do I blame Biden for actually having it happen? No. But I feel like giving Trump credit for this is a little out of bounds. As far as just in general, I would say that this comes off more as a war of words and just following up on open opportunities more than it is, oh, hey, this is the dagger at your throat, Iran. Like, I don't see that yet. And maybe that's a bad standard to have, but that's where I'm at.
Well, so y'all brought this up, right? So, like, I mean, I think we all agree that we can name most of our enemies, and they're like Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia. And I'm also not one of these people that thinks an enemy always has to be an enemy. Alliances change, but I am one of the people who's been saying quite a bit that, like, are these people really our allies? And like someone mentioned the UAE earlier. I don't think the UAE is our ally. Like, who here, just to raise our hands, who here thinks the UAE is what we call an ally?
I don't know
They're
enough.
not an ally. They're not an adversary. But
Yeah,
they're not an
sure,
ally.
they're not an ally. They're not an ally. I mean, I would say they fall more in the adversary camp. There's a reason why anytime we need a terrorist group to talk to, we can call them up, and they have a fucking embassy with that terrorist group in their fucking country. Coincidentally, I wonder why. I'm sure they're our friends, right? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that, right? Like, and so, like, they're not our ally, and then, like, people are bitching about what we're doing with them. Then people are like, well, what about the EU, France, and Germany, and all these other countries? Though they're our best friends. I'm like, okay, are they our best friends? Because I don't think their trade practices have been very friendly, right? I feel like they've like shipped off all their fighting to us to do for them, and we've gotten very little from it. I know that maybe Nonfon will argue that us protected free trade is good for us overall, and I can see maybe some credit to that, like economically. However, I don't think by us being the superpower and have military bases over there and them not being able to do anything about it is mutually exclusive with, like, oh, hey, why don't you get your own militaries and do something sometime? I don't know if these people are like necessarily our allies. I mean, do y'all think that these people are all our allies, or is this just propaganda where you just go ahead, Tiberius?
I mean, I said this a little bit more in my opening for the subject, but most of these people I don't give LI level to, and then even if I'm going to tier down one level to where the people that I would say are allies, the Brits and the Aussies, are like brothers in arms, just the paragon of what we want to see, is that, all right, let's take a look at the laundry list here. The French, strategic partners at best. It's not that we won't work together, it's not that we don't like each other. It's that when we don't agree on something, we get in each other's way in a really big hurry. That's not what I would consider an ally, but it's up in that top tier.
We run from the stench.
Outside of Japan, Japan and France are the only people that even have that category. Everybody else is either an outright vassal, to where this is where I get pissed off with a lot of the MAGA train, is that we keep them weak on purpose because we don't want the Germans to have an army and march over Poland again. That was our doing. We said we didn't want that again. If we want to change that, interesting conversation, but we still need to have the conversation of, these aren't our allies. I wish everyone in Washington would shut up about it, because they are literally dependent on us on purpose. That was the entire plan. So then you have just the kind of the outliers, people that are like useful idiots or people who have their hands in way too many pots. And this is the UAE for me. It's people that's like, we don't really like you, but you're really fucking useful. So we'll work together where you want to work at. And that is the UAE. Is there some people I would like to have a conversation with? Maybe bump up a few pegs? The Armenians I would like to have a chat with, to be honest. There's a few other peoples out there.
What about Rwanda? Do you like Rwanda, Tiberius?
I don't know shit about Rwanda, to be honest. Outside they had genocide a ways back.
Well, they're the #1 military in Africa right now, and they just took over a big portion of their neighbor. And guess what? They're selling all those minerals, those rare earth minerals, almost exclusively to the U.S. now. But they're not necessarily good guys, it feels like. But they seem like our ally. I mean,
I would have to look into that a bit. I'm really pissed off that Ethiopia killed the Tigrayans because they had the biggest army in all of Africa and they shit all over it in a giant civil war. I'm sorry, I can go too far down the rabbit hole. This is kind of still something I care about a lot.
Tiberius, just to your point real quick, think of this like our welfare state in the United States. If we don't have some cutoff to say, like, look, when you reach X point, you lose welfare. What people tend to do is they take that income from the state and they take that fungible income and they act like it's something to rely on, and they spend around it. So even when they start to get out of the poverty point and they can actually afford their own military and to protect themselves, instead of doing that, they put it into other things because they're relying on the United States pumping money into them.
100%.
So yeah, I think it's kind of the argument of removing them from the welfare state. It should be done more slowly.
I totally buy it. I'm not acting like they're wrong here. The point that I like to push back is that this was on purpose. This was our doing, not theirs. This isn't them abusing the system. This is them going along with the system we put in place.
Yeah,
and Germany's the exception of it. Is the shining example of this, right? We told the Germans you get free trade, you get access to the American market or even the Western market, so you don't invade Poland again. Good God, leave those bastards alone. But on the other side of that is it a time to reconsider it? Have no problem with that. I would love to see Napoleon's children and the Kaiser's children and the children of the Hussars invade Moscow. That would be fucking a dream come true. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
What about you, Petal? Do you think these countries are our allies? I know you're a big fan of soft
They drink
power.
sparkling water by default. These people aren't like us. They not like us.
That is disgusting. That is actually
They
a great
not
point.
like
They also
You have
don't put
to
ice
pay
in
for
their
the
drinks. They
bathrooms.
don't put ice in their drinks.
Pay-
Yeah, I don't
pay for
Dude,
every
you
bathroom.
go
have
to you go to get water
for the
in Europe,
water.
especially in Germany. If you ask for water, make sure unless you want sparkling water, that you ask for still water. Because if otherwise
They
they
also
bring you
really
sparkling water.
They also
Dude, who the
really
fuck-
look
and if you ask
down
for
upon
regular
you.
water,
They're
they look
like,
at you
why
like you
are
wanna
you
drink,
drinking
like water
that?
they clean with. It's like insane. They're like, oh, you want water without sparkles?
You should have.
Like, fuck you.
The face
The
I
fuck?
got when I once tried to get water from the tap in Germany. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The
They're
look
like,
on.
you
Oh, they
degenerate.
were horrified. They're like,
these
this is
people
what
are
America has come
I don't know.
to.
I think of them like the lottery winner's friends, where like the lottery winner has like, yeah, everyone's friends with the fucking lottery winner. Like, you think any European country is gonna like fucking really start fucking with us? You know, like of course not. They're like, you don't want to get fucking, you don't want to be on our bad side, right? You gotta be our ally. But at the
For
same time,
sure,
it's like
but-
the second that we hint that like we're not gonna be as generous with them, they're like, you guys are like piece of shit. We actually don't even like you or respect you. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? Like, every
guess
time
I'm
Trump does
also
it, they're like,
surprised-
oh, look at all these polls. Only 20% of Europeans even like you. And I'm like, well, fuck you guys too then? Like, what do you, like, we could also say that you suck. Like, fuck you. Like, what?
I guess I am a little surprised that a lot of people on the MAGA side I'm just saying that because it's the easiest way to say it, are not wanting other countries to be dependent on America, considering how much it can fuck them up if we just pull the rug out from under them. I mean,
Well,
ironically, it seems that actually is the most confusing part to me, because all of these moves to me seem like it's America saying, look, we're not going to be that reliable bitch anymore. Figure out your own shit. We don't want to deal with that anymore, which is fine, but it means that like people aren't going to be calling America to invite her to the brunch.
I
Okay.
agree.
Nobody
Yeah,
gives
and
a
we've
fuck
had
about
this.
having her for endless mimosas.
I think if
We've had
if you ask MAGA,
but hold on, even in
there
that
would be a
scenario-
breakdown within there
Well,
of people who
well,
think
well,
that we need to maintain this position as first, and people who just want the best for us and don't
just
care
use
about that.
Let's use the scenario you just described.
And
Hold
so
on,
those
Bucker,
are
hold on,
just
Bucker. Well, let's look at the scenario you just described, though, right? That you listen. They're not going to invite America to the brunch. Well, the reason why they're not going to invite America to endless mimosas no more is because America's been paying for endless mimosas for the last 50 years, and now they don't want to pay. They want everybody else to pay, and all of a sudden now they're the bad guys for wanting them to do that. That seems kind of toxic. Wouldn't
I'm
you
not.
agree?
Did you see me? Did you hear me at any point in time say that America was the bad guy on that front? Even like in that statement, I'm talking about why I find it confusing that while some people are saying, it's a welfare state, blah 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 blah. You're not recognizing that a part of what made America number one was these unbalanced trade relationships they had with different nations. I just don't understand how it's going to keep America at the top if we're also taking out like all of the leveraging power that we had before.
Well, you're assuming that like if we don't we wouldn't naturally be in first place if it wasn't for these I guess the way the relationships are currently structured, I guess.
I mean, I do. Is that not I feel like there's no way.
Think if every country decided from now on we're solely acting in our own self-interest. I still think the U.S. would naturally fall to the top of that list. But the question is do we need to make sure by any cost that we maintain our position? There are certainly national security arguments to be made there. I don't think
we do. Yeah. I will say, unironically, that's been a part of why some of these this stuff going on with trades and tariffs. Part of me is well, damn, America will be knocked off of number one. I'm not even against that. It doesn't actually. I think that absolutely is happening, and it does not bother me, to be clear. But I am confused as to people who are very nationalist who do. I mean, you say you don't believe that, which I'm not challenging, but I just.
I'll take I'll take the opposing argument to what you have in the regards of it is definitely from the nationalist point. It's way more unethical than I want to dig into, but there's levels where people actually believe this in some way. I personally believe it. I just don't believe we should do it. And that is the more that we put the screws to everybody, the more we're going to find out that the United States really is the one that can stand alone. You're talking about a continental-sized country with
it's
third biggest population on the planet. The deck's stacked in our favor, fucking stacked. And there's a real principle here of if you actually put the knives in everybody's throat, even if the United States gets it back, we still win. That's the crazy part, but it's kind of true. Europe is an old folks' home now. China may be the main manufacturing power of the world, until you realize it's only because people still buy for their shit, and it's getting to the point where no one wants to buy it anymore because it's now getting too expensive. The only place that goes along without the United States is India, but that's not hard competition yet. France, that's
also massive. Another massive place, India.
Yeah, it's just one of those deals where it's you look at the scoreboard and who has room to fall. Germany gets knocked off. China probably gets knocked off. A few other people definitely get hurt. But there's no one who gets a gain from the United States taking a step back. They all lose.
Yeah, I actually see it very similar. It's kind of we're gambling in a duel, and we're all right, what's gonna happen is we're gonna fire these bullets, and you're gonna fire your bullets, and I'm willing to bet I'm gonna have more bullets left, and you're gonna be out. And then guess what? You'll be dead, and I'll be reaping the rewards. I mean, it might suck in the interim, but
it's just a great way to get yourself shot.
In this case, they won't be dead. And, I'm thinking when it comes to long term, obviously we think the tariffs are somehow going to bring all of this manufacturing back to America, but the ways that we're removing dependence from other countries, do you not expect them to develop other systems to make up for what we're taking?
Most of them, no.
I mean, like
in
also,
any regard. Not even in
Well, isn't it the
those
same? Isn't it
distant
the same
future,
argument?
in the same way that we, or not in the same way, but like we plan on rebuilding in America. Is there no way that any of these other nations could rebuild similarly, or?
To that point, though, right? Like, isn't it the same argument from from like us, like with the manufacturing? Like, oh, it's gonna take you all a while to get your manufacturing going, right? Well, wouldn't it be like, oh, well, these countries don't have any of this shit, and we've been providing it. Well, look, what are you gonna do? It's gonna take you all a while to get there, and in the interim,
that's
you're gonna be fucked,
yeah,
right? Like, wouldn't that be the?
I agree. That's why that's why I'm not arguing against his position that everybody loses by America pulling out, because I do agree they can't just like magically make up for it. But I do want to hear his argument for.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is, some people have some problems with this argument, but I think it's actually true. The United States did change the game after World War II. We put everybody who would be on our side to fight the Soviets, we put on the same team. So we all got to trade. The people who literally launched the wars because they couldn't get the shit they wanted, such as the Germans and the Japanese, they could trade as part of our integrated market. And that was a huge change. And then we've expanded that since the Cold War ended to where now the Poles are a part of it. Now Eastern Europe is largely a part of it. And the only people who are out are the people that either we say, no, you're being vetoed, which is finally the Russians, or it's people that basically we just don't like from the start. Look at the situation that all of them are in. They are third world destitute nations, or they're really hemorrhaging and actually being a functional society. If we cut that away, I don't know if the rest of the world combined actually can amount that united. Because it's like the problem is that who calls the shots? No one wants the Brits to run this bitch again. Everyone agrees on that. The Germans have too much bad PR to do it. The Russians will invade half of their neighbors to do it. We've already seen this, so they're out. China pissed away all of their good faith with Belt and Road. This is why Africa is now like saying stay the fuck back, even though no one talks about it. There's no one to run the boat. And that's if you can build the boat in the first place. I actually am scared that even if the United States tries to do this well, by the end of the century, we're going to have less people than what we started the century with.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to raise my hand. I was.
I mean, I would be worried about China
point.
filling any gaps that we, took ourselves away from. Like, even if I'm sure, Belt and Road maybe has eroded some goodwill, but like I still see a lot of Africa and South America, trading with China, and I think, if the U.S. starts tariffing them and cuts off trade with them and stops, being military allies with them, they're going to shift even more to being close with China. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. So,
sure. I don't disagree with that.
China...
But she was talking about the long term, right? She was talking about like what's the reality of these nations being able to put it together. And the reality is that this is probably going to sound crazy to people, but if you even put Japan up against China in a knockdown, drag-out shooting war, Japan wins because they will literally blockade China to death.
You really?
Like,
I'm not convinced
you think
Japan could do that.
Blockade China? Yeah, I don't think they can blockade China.
They'll have to work with Taiwan, but they will.
China's got more ships and like most of them submarines. And here's the thing about that: like I know submarines are pretty low, like they're not like high tech. A submarine's fucking hard to find, like even a low tech one. And I don't know that they could do that. Like I guess that eliminates shipping though. They could definitely like make shipping so volatile to region China.
That's the point. You're talking about the world's largest importer for energy, foodstuffs, the shit you need to make food. Like literally, you can make it to where so many tankers and so many bulk commodity producers can't get into China or are just so scared shitless they're not going to try it, to where you'll starve China in 6 months. Like that is the reality that I think Japan actually has on the table, and that's why China is scared shitless, and that no one talks about this shit at all. This is why they want Taiwan. They want to break through the barrier islands so they can actually get to the global ocean because they know they're hemmed in real bad.
Not thought what you were saying something.
I don't know. I don't know if I have anything to add on that anymore.
Sure.
On the point, we're going to be left with. Oh, continue.
Oh, well, I was just gonna, going back to a little earlier in our conversation. I will say, I do think Tyler is, mostly writing that obviously Trump's, at least rhetoric, is usually tougher on Iran and everything. But it does seem like Israel was able to do, and Tiberius mentioned this, a lot of shit under Biden. Biden didn't seem to constrain Israel too much. And then we also didn't have like a 3-month blockade of aid going into Gaza under Biden, and we've had that under Trump. I don't think Biden or Kamala would have let that happen, and I think that's unfortunate for the people in Gaza.
I'm glad you mentioned aid, because I actually like that he said we're going to end up with less people at the turn of the century, because I do think, stopping some of our U.S. aid actually will also encourage that, just with the different treatment programs that we had available in tons of different countries. So I do think that's a problem that we will see getting worse if we don't see any more research in medicine, and we're ceasing all the aid for like preventable disease around the nation. I feel like that's just a simple recipe for disaster that could be resolved so quickly, even if you didn't reinstitute any other U.S. aid. Just the shit for like treating HIV and malaria would go so far, so insanely far. And it's not like Americans are just it's not like we can't fucking get malaria. We can get malaria. We can get all of these diseases very easily if we just stop giving a fuck about medicine. And frankly, that I am scared about. And I do think there is a bit of an attack on, like, back to the academic institutions. I do actually see that as a serious issue in the future, is the development of science and medicine in America. I think it's fucked.
We'll come to the academic thing. I got one more foreign policy thing. I'm sure it'll be quick. Maybe we can move to academia. J.D. Vance is in India, talking to India about the new India-Pakistan war that looks to be brewing.
Away from the ladies.
Which I think is actually a real issue compared to some of these issues. Like, we have Russia and Ukraine fighting, and that's one nuclear power versus a non-nuclear. And we have Israel and Iran fighting. That's a nuclear and a non-nuclear. But India and Pakistan both have nukes. Are we fans of what's been happening with Vance saying that we want to strengthen a partnership with India? Do we like how they're handling this thus far? Should we be more involved? What are our thoughts on this situation? Go ahead, Tyler.
India is a massive country, and as the Trump administration was saying this week in the office, they're easy to negotiate with because they're one of the countries that tariffs us the most. So there's a lot of squish room for Trump to wiggle them down a bit. And again, having 1 billion people that you're doing more fair and free trade with, buying your goods, is a good thing. I think at the end, if Trump's predictions and his gamble come true, absolute good. If they don't, you're going to see his reputation as one of the worst economic presidents of our lifetime. So it really is a gamble. It takes some balls to do, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I do like the idea of allying with India. They're a big country. You're not entirely pro-China or anything, and I do think there's an opportunity for us to ally with them strategically there.
We're in America now.
Yeah, I just listen, okay, if we cause this much uncertainty, if you told me we got a Q1 GDP contraction for a trade deal with India, that's still pretty bad in my opinion, but okay.
Tiberius, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I did. I didn't realize you were still seeing that. My take on India is a little complicated, but I'll put it in a couple ways. While we don't get along in the best of regards, I would like to see the relationship get better. But when it comes to Vance, for me, it's just going to be words as words, because I've been hearing words like this for the last 3 administrations. Like, literally, it's been this administration, the Biden administration, and Trump 1 that we've had people talking about, hey, how we need to have better relationships with India. Never happens, because India really likes going it alone, and they really don't like us that much. Can we change that? I don't know, because that's more of a them thing than an us thing. Do I want it to? Absolutely yes.
You don't think that? Hold on. You don't think that? But we've made strides with India. Like, India switched off buying from Russian weapons to like U.S. weapons. They've like gotten in better with like our strategic allies, like the Philippines, right? Who we have a pretty close relationship. The Philippines just bought a bunch of Indian made anti-missile systems and some other things from them, right? And then it seems to me like we are definitely deepening our ties with them, but it's kind of like Tyler said, they have like a shitload of tariffs for it. So it's like, what, like, are they I get both your points, but it does seem like
You've
Trump
brought
has
it full
made some
circle for me.
inroads. But like, yeah, it's like they made some inroads, but they haven't. As opposed to like, I don't think Biden really did anything with India, as far as I know. But India, once again, kind of.
If India parked up in D.C. tomorrow and said, "Hey, look, we're gonna buy 5 times what the Poles bought from you in the last year," that would get my attention. Like, if India was like, "Hey, look, we bought all these fucking T-90s from Russia and they're shit, and we're seeing how bad they are in Ukraine," we've seen those M1s. We know that you've got plenty of spare parts. We'd like to buy some of those. In fact, we'll buy a couple or about 1,000 of them. Like, that's what I want to see. Something of that level, because India has so much to gain out of a good relationship with the United States. And if it wasn't the fact that we're just the evil colonizers that reminds them way too much of Britain, they would be on board with this already. But they're not. And so there's a level where I don't think it's the Trump administration to open up that box, but I would like to see somebody do it. Very much so.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Ramaswamy of Indian descent? And J.D. Vance's wife is of Indian descent.
And
I
children.
feel like this is, and children. So it feels like, those are pretty, well, one's a prominent former member of the admin. And
So
then,
is Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I
Kamala
guess.
Harris?
True. So true.
I feel like
This
maybe
happened.
it's a sign that we like India more. I don't know. Pentemple, you've been awfully quiet. What do you think about our relations with India? And should we be more concerned about
We
them
need
going
to-
to war with Pakistan and the rest of the world? Because I feel like nobody's talking about this war, and it's 2 nuclear powers that's about to go down, and that's a lot worse than anything going on with Ukraine or Israel, in my opinion.
I think India's cool. I want to be friends with India. I think we need to tell them to stop the fucking scams. That shit's fucking. I feel like that'd be such an easy fucking like PRW for Trump if he would just like we're putting 100% tariffs on India until they stop fucking calling our phones and trying to steal our money. They get away with all billions and billions of dollars and fucking scam. They are notorious for that. There is something wrong with Indian police letting that get out of fucking hand, and they get away with it, and the police are definitely compromised, and we should probably get India to fucking stop doing that. But I don't know that that's the priority of our relationship with them, but it should be something we talk about.
I would
I can
definitely assume we're seeing at least a slightly more positive relationship with India. At least, like I said about the tech sector, unironically, if you go to a Microsoft campus in
Good point.
Washington,
Elon likes
it's
India.
literally all Indians. That's not I feel like the amount of immigration we're getting from India, there has to be at least some not horribly negative
H-1Bs.
perspective from the
Slow down.
but I agree, but there has to be a not horribly up until the past month, horrible perspective on America from the Indian public, just with the amount of jobs that we seem to provide.
Interesting fact: Indian immigrants are the second largest minority group in the United States after Mexicans.
I'm actually pretty sure most of my neighborhood
more than
now
blacks?
is.
Well, no, as far as immigrant groups,
It would have been
I'm
Chinese.
pretty sure most.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure most of my neighborhood now is mostly Indian.
Who wasn't counting African
It's actually, it's wild in Seattle. You could see that all the new developments being built, or a lot of them that were being built, were very obviously for people working in tech in the city, and it was all Indian developments. These developments are just completely full of people who moved over.
It would have been more
this
Chinese.
is
Indian food though. I have to
is
say, fire food, top notch. Oh my god, bring more.
No.
I've clashed with you on this, Pentemple, a few times, right? About what we want culturally here. I guess we can move to immigration now, right? Elon seemed pretty pro-India, when some of his comments that was kind of controversial with some parts of it. I've rejected this notion that I think American culture is great, right? I think part of that is that we assimilate people into American culture, and I would take 1 million Indians who want to work and are willing to put in the hours working over pretty much all of California. So I don't. you know, when I'm sitting here hearing this, like Buckaroo, we love you, you're great, but you know, Washington, y'all can go too. Like, I mean, like a lot of lazy fucks live off the government in these two areas. Like, you know, all these liberal hellholes. I'll take all of the Indians that want to work over all of them. I feel like that's more American than wanting to live off a Tita society on taxes.
If
Do
we
you
were
not agree with that?
isolating-
Growth.
If we were isolating the variable to culture, then you're right. I probably have a lot of overlap culturally, traditionally, with a lot of Indians and Indian immigrants. Then,
And you live with your family.
They're only racist, you know. So
But I don't think that's. I mean,
it's a joke. It's not.
if we isolate that variable, yeah, you are making a good point. But it's just I think that the overall, you know, I'm not like, oh yeah, we should just immigrate all the Indians because, dude, I grew up around a lot of Indians. So they taught the only reason I know how to code on my TI-84 calculator in elementary school was because I had Indians in my class, and my
Yeah, I had Super
my
Mario on
boy
that bitch.
Archit fucking taught me how to code on the TI-84, and it was like one of the coolest things ever in like 4th grade. I mean,
But, I mean, to be fair,
they were fucking brilliant people.
I
for
can't,
sure.
I can't code now, but back when MySpace was a thing, I had all sorts of coding shit on there, and I had on my TI-84 that I have right here, I have fucking Super Mario and Super Mario
Yeah, pull it up,
2.
click program.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get you right. No, I'm just kidding.
We got it. We got it right here, baby. It's fucking
Yeah,
ready
let's
to go.
go.
Oh, yeah, I actually have a TI-89 somewhere for like when I gotta do graphs and shit. But
I definitely have a TI-84 over there.
also, I want to
Yes.
point out.
Hey,
what
how many of you guys know how to
stands
code
for?
on it?
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
Yeah,
And how many of you
I
guys
know how to
an
put
Indian
code
friend
on
group?
it.
Interesting
Yeah.
correlation, hey?
Yeah, I mean, to be
No,
fair.
I played a lot of the built-in games.
Go ahead, Tiberius. What were you saying? Go ahead.
All right, so you want to do immigration
Yeah, we can do
separate,
immigration.
or do you want to do immigration and deportations? Because there's
I
one of them
mean,
I'm a lot
just
better
go
on
with
than
both.
not.
Yeah, you go with both. Start it off. I don't
I
care.
have
We're
one
hitting.
quick
Yeah.
It's the first 100 days. There's a lot of topics. We're getting.
I got one
bam,
quick
bam, 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 as
sentence.
fast as possible. Really,
Let me
today,
get one
so-
quick sentence before we switch to that.
Oh, go ahead. Then Tiberius.
Our Chinese immigration would have been higher, but Joe Biden removed thousands of student visas without due process or
Oh, my
prosecution of Chinese nationals that were in the United States going to college here. So, I want to say that due process is important. Joe Biden's a fascist.
I'm gonna have to remember that. You should send me some links on that. I'm gonna use that in the debate too. I
Oh,
think.
That does sound like a shame.
Oh my God.
That does sound shitty to be a
Yeah.
student and get fucking deported.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
A
Anyway,
lot
go
of
ahead.
people in the US.
All right,
Me?
immigration. I'm far more pro on. My stance has been it's like as much as I don't have any major problem with immigration writ large, is that we were hitting the threshold of where we normally lock the country down from foreign immigration. Once we hit about 20%, we lock everything down. We've done this 3 times now. This looks like our 4th. So fucking called it, I guess. Like that's pretty much how I'm at. The deportations part is the part that gets me. I would have been fine if we just said, "Hey, look, no one else is in. We will make it very painful for you if you don't like abide by the new rule set." But a lot of the problems that my fellow righties have with how illegal immigration was done and done through asylum and yada yada yada, I don't have a problem with what you guys are talking about as far as like, "Hey, look, this was not the proper way." But it's one of those very convenient loopholes that everybody knows about that, you know, they were just kind of encouraged to do, and they show up, most of them do their work, they do all the stuff that they're supposed to, and they're like, yeah, I like this American experiment, this American dream thing, can I have some of it? I don't have a problem with almost any of that. Just kill the asylum protocols. Just make it to where these people can't get in that way anymore. I would feel so much better. But now it's, hey, you did everything you were really supposed to do, or 90% of it, but just because we don't like that one technicality, we're going to kick you square in the nuts, get fucked. There's a level of callousness there that I do ethically have a problem with, and moralistically have a problem with.
Nah, send them out. Deported.
Send them out.
Yeet.
Deported.
Bye.
Well put. I think that's a
Wowie.
great way to put it regarding deportations.
You're here
I
legally.
think, I mean,
Goodbye.
bro, I barely
some
agree
pushback.
with borders right now. So
You barely agree with borders.
Well,
Well, like,
Well, I'm on-
there you
I'm
go.
on-
Just
I'm
say
on-
that.
I'm
Why
on-
don't
Look,
just
I need
say
to
okay,
that?
hold on.
but no. I need to read more. I just have issues. Okay, I have issues with it.
What exactly do you object with on the borders? Like, say, like, what is a border if not just like a barrier? Like how far down the line do you have a problem with borders? Is it just at the macro level, or can I be like, you know what? I don't care that your house is a wall.
macro.
I don't care that bed is yours.
It's a macro level. It's a macro level. It's a macro level.
Okay.
I just don't like the way the implementation of borders has been used as like a key mechanism in like a literal oppression in like fucking people over and just ruining their lives.
I disavow everything I said before. I don't agree with this person at all.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
just
know
saying.
about it.
I know it's a horrible. I know it's like a loaded term, but that I'm just trying to use that as like a or exploitation. Sorry, exploitation is the word I was thinking of. But it just seems so often in history, at least in American history, that a lot of borders have been implemented and reinforced, at least in part out of a desire to like establish a class of citizens that you can easily exploit, and that's something that I take
Really?
issue with, and I want to read more about it.
Wait. So, like, you would agree that using illegal aliens in ag and not paying
No, I
them a fair
actually
wage is
do agree.
You're
equivalent
basically
to
an
state
Oh
anarchist.
my
Is the only way this
God.
makes
No, I
sense.
actually-
Why do we have
is
a
that what you're
government if
saying?
you're not
Yes.
going to cater to the people that formed and pay for that
Yeah,
government
I know.
to exist?
No, I actually
we're gonna
do
give-
agree
we're
with
gonna-
you, Gibbs. I actually do agree with you, Gibbs, on that front. That I think
Really?
the exploitation. I think the exploitation of people. I think, bro. I just think exploitation is wrong. I think
We're
fucking
being
purposefully
by these
importing all of
illegals
these
taking our
workers just
American
so you can
dream from
underpay
us.
them and not meet any regulations and treat them like shit and not give them access to healthcare. Like I think all of that is fucked. I think the quotas that they're required to meet and the ways that they're encouraged to cut corners just so they can like hurt themselves for the betterment of some like random CEO. I think that's absolutely fucked. I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's wrong.
So look,
It
you
might
know,
be
I'm
overproductive,
a
yeah.
neoliberal dog, okay? So I love immigrants coming here and working for and undercutting Americans on their wages. That's the based opinion. It's mutually beneficial,
I
even
want
if
them
they.
to just be paid appropriate wages because
Well, yeah,
they're
so, like,
working
there's
and they're
the-
doing the job that they're supposed
I
to be
love
doing.
this quote.
Yeah,
They
so-
should do
Say
the
that-
jobs that Americans are doing.
Non-fan, say that again. Just say that line one
I
more
said
time.
I'm a neoliberal dog, and I love immigrants coming here to undercut Americans and wages. That's what I love. I
Yeah.
love nothing.
And
more.
then this
Um,
motherfucker, no, please. I want to draw him for 1 minute here. And then this motherfucker says that line and then wonders why I won't trust him on tariffs. Fucking shocking.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
To be
No,
clear,
do you
I'm being
agree-
hyperbolic. But look, here's the real issue. I think. I mean, one is obviously, you know, do we believe immigration is beneficial? And I do think, like, yeah, legal immigration. And, like, if we just have legal immigration, it seems like a lot of these issues that you guys are having with them being paid too little would go away. And it also, I think the way Trump is doing deportations, legal immigrants don't want to come here. Tourism is falling partly because, you know, I think there was that example, like a German teen who was like strip searched at an airport just because legal immigrants and tourists are scared of getting caught up with fucking ICE. And that's not a good thing because immigration tends to be a good thing. Same thing with foreign students,
just
by the
keep-
way.
Just,
Foreign
hold on.
just keep in
I-
mind, Nonfon, when you're supporting immigrants undercutting American wages, sometimes you're just supporting the exploitation of those immigrants. Do you think
Well,
that
okay,
is
so-
actually appropriate?
Hold on. I
as a
want
way
to
to
I want to point something out
encourage
here. though.
immigration? Because personally, I would say if we have to exploit people to encourage immigration, then maybe we should find other ways to encourage it.
hold
Maybe
on.
I wouldn't
exploitation shouldn't be a
necessarily
key
define
factor
exploitation just because
in this equation.
I mean, like,
Well, hold
you
on,
know,
hold on.
immigrants who come here to work in agriculture, like, we're giving them an opportunity that's better than the opportunity they had in,
To be
you know, their
paid-
home
to be
country.
paid less than the American worker to
Well, yeah, but it's
have,
still
like,
infinitely
no
more than it
access
would have
to
been paid in
healthcare,
Mexico.
But not
to-
fun. But not hold on. Here's the thing, though, right? So, like, there's actually like kind of a split in the Republican Party, and even within MAGA, right? It looks like, for example, Elon is pro certain kinds of immigration. I'm definitely pro legal immigration, right? But I'm also very pro the wall and deporting people here legally, right? Because the illegal immigrants are basically slave labor. There's a whole bunch of other problems, and like you seem like you're pro legal immigration, which I think
They absolutely are.
we can build a bridge on Nonfon. Like I'm not like Petal here. I don't care what country they come from as long as they become American, right? You know, because by the third generation they are American. But like,
People needs to leave.
Right, but
Does
like-
everybody know the state you're in?
well, but what I'm saying is with like Nonfon, my issue is though you're like kind of saying undercut them. I agree, undercut them if they're legal, but if you're illegal, I mean, how do you? That's bad. That's overall bad. Like you're definitely just fucking over people that are playing by the rules. Like if I wanted to go hire 50 illegals for my ranch, I could probably hire 50 illegals and pay them the same amount as I pay 3 people legally.
So
Like,
I
you know,
mean, I'm being hyperbolic when I say like undercut wages and everything. Like I do agree that happens to an extent, but I don't even know like what percent of asylum seekers are really like getting paid significantly less than, legal minimum wage or whatever. But I mean,
it's not just that.
it's just a question of like, how much economic harm do they do? And like, I'm not convinced that even asylum seekers do that much economic harm, and therefore I'm not going to be like, I'm very hesitant to deport a lot of them, considering I think that has pretty high like moral cost to doing so. Like, why are you laughing, Petal? What I say that's wrong?
I will say though, Gibbs,
Go ahead.
your point on giving everybody green cards and basically grandfathering them into citizenship, and how it would basically only go to support like Monsanto. I actually think it's a great argument because I would actually find ways to resolve that problem that could still result in citizenship. Personally, I still think they should have citizenship, but I think if there were ways to do that where it wasn't all just benefiting, that'd be the way to go. Because
unfortunately, the only way to do
it's
that
not
is
fair
to
to
get
like
rid of
fuck
them.
over.
Yeah, like unfortunately,
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
really the only way to
If there
level
was
the
some
playing field.
complex plan you could develop that included a multi-year program where you could like give them jobs in agriculture, then I would want to look into that before just deportation. Because it feels so cruel, especially for people who on paper feel like they've done everything that they can. They've come to America, they've worked hard, they've like worked harder than their American
They feel
colleagues
lied to by the Democrats
you know?
who promised hotel rooms.
Well, I mean, this is another thing about the immigration, right? I think immigration is a stark example, and Tyler kind of talked about this in his opening, of like the Trump administration is moving quickly, and it shows that, and this really kind of makes me really angry with even the Republican administrations from recent years, is that this problem could have been fucking solved overnight. And Abbott and him got together in cahoots, and basically Abbott and him solved the problem overnight, because you're going through Texas or you're going through the goddamn desert, and nobody's going through the goddamn desert over there in New Mexico and Arizona. I don't care what these people think.
And barefoot, they end up barefoot in the desert, and they get caught.
They die. They die. That's what happens. It's like that's just not. It's not feasible. There's a reason why they pick California and Texas to come through, and they solve this problem overnight. And I think it really exposes kind of the lies we've been told by the government. I mean, in this case, it seems like the executive orders worked well. Are we a fan over how fast things are moving overall? Go ahead, Nonfon.
I am not.
I mean, I think like obviously, I mean obviously like border crossings have dropped or whatever, partly because of the executive orders. Now, I ain't Pisco, but from my limited reading, I would guess that a lot of these executive orders on the border are in violation of our current asylum laws. I ain't a lawyer, but it seems to me that that's true. And also, like, I don't know, to me, invoking the Alien Enemies Act to do summary deportations is just kind of fucking insane. Like, the Alien Enemies Act is of questionable constitutionality to begin with, and then saying that, Venezuelan gangs are somehow tied close enough to the government that it constitutes an invasion when illegal immigrants are violating asylum laws, that's fucking insane to me. Also, just that you can somewhere, deport people without, due process or whatever. Like,
well,
we didn't want to trigger Pentuple with that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to find another word to say there, but like.
Yeah, I heard you trying there.
I know.
Jumping about the asylum. So the only asylum law that has been slapped down as unconstitutional in the last 10 years now was when Joe Biden passed a law that said if you cross the border illegally, you are barred from applying for asylum for 5 years. It got slapped down almost immediately. Trump's executive orders, what they do is it doesn't change that you could still apply for asylum if you come in at a non-point of entry. The standard to which you can apply gets changed. At the border, if you go to a port of entry, you can do credible fear. It's a much lower standard than if you sneak in and then apply retroactively. Then you have to go through reasonable fear. That's what Trump changed on this. and there's nothing wrong with it. It's already been reviewed by the courts. It was done in his first term in early 2018, and it passed the constitutional challenges. So a lot of what Trump did was just undo Biden's executive order in February of 2021, and that re-implemented most of his policy, except for the migrant protection protocol, because he needs Mexico's permission to sign those on. So when he slapped tariffs on them, that's when they agreed to the migrant protection protocols that are now in place again, and that was his big victory with tariffs in Mexico. So I don't think anything's illegal because it was all done in his first term, and it seemingly passed constitutional muster when challenged.
There's no way that's the only executive order he's had on the border, right? There's no shot.
It was 3 altogether. But
Three
what happened
altogether?
was he
Okay.
did multiple, and then the 3 he did altogether, Biden repealed them all in one, and then he unrepealed them all in one as well. So initially it was multiple. Biden repealed like 90 in one order or something like that.
Paste.
Not all of them were border and whatever related. I think the illegality that we're potentially seeing is in the deportations, not the border itself.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, we can move a little bit on this because I do like to trigger people and we like to talk about due process. But I know we're talking about Trump's first 100 days. I think one other thing Trump has done has exposed the Dems for some of the stuff they're willing to support. We're screaming out due process while arguing over someone that's clearly a fucking terrorist. Or we have a spokesperson who's like, it doesn't say MS-13, that's photoshopped, and it's like, no, it doesn't actually say MS-13. It just has the gangland tattoos that stand for MS-13 on his hand, which is basically the same as if I went to Egypt and looked at a hieroglyph and was like, that's A, or if I took a Greek alphabet and like, oh, that's Omega, that means this. I think it's very dishonest when people are like, oh, it's not due process, even though one guy, like we brought up the Chinese immigrants having their due process revoked under Biden. We have this Garcia guy.
Well,
he should have been deported, but they didn't deport him back in the first time. And then we're sitting here, the Dems are sitting here dying on these hills, and I think it's exposed them a little bit. You seem to object to that, Nonfon.
So I mean, I don't. To be clear, I have not kept up with the Kilmar-Garcia guy, so I don't know for sure anything about him. But the entire point of invoking the Alien Enemies Act, although I do know he wasn't deported under the Alien Enemies Act, I don't think.
Yeah,
but
it was
the entire point of invoking the Alien Enemies Act is to summarily deport people, and that shit is crazy.
The double. What were you gonna say?
I agree.
Say on the Garcia thing, I mean, people are pointing at the tattoos and litigating the hand tattoos and stuff, but I don't even think the best evidence that there's a very shady history with this guy. I was looking this up, and I wrote down these 5 facts, and if anyone wants to fact check them and challenge me on this, you can. But Garcia was pulled over in Tennessee, traveling interstate from Texas to Maryland, had 8 people in the car that all gave the same home address as Abrego Garcia did from Texas. And the feds told the troopers to let him go. And the car was registered to a man who is now in federal prison for human trafficking. So, like, if you want to place your bets that this guy is just like a nice on the up and up guy, go ahead and place your bet there.
It's not that he's the nice up
See,
and up
but
guy.
8 people
Hold on.
living in an apartment is not scary.
Well, see the thing.
No, no,
Okay,
no,
he's
hold
on
on.
MS-13. We can litigate the tattoos that way.
He
He
absolutely
definitely has
is.
ties to human traffickers who are in
Listen, he
federal prison, and
absolutely
he
is
was
MS-
driving their car, trafficking 8 people across
Yeah.
interstate.
No, he absolutely is MS-13, the same level of adjudication.
Hold on.
as
You said you
Trump
had more
sexual
facts.
abuser. Oh, yeah. You get all yours first, and then I'll
Yeah,
jump
get
in.
all your 5 facts, then we'll go to time.
Well, those are the 5 facts. He's pulled over in Tennessee. There were 8 people in the car. They all gave the same
It was
home
one
address
fact
as
broken
Abrego
into
Garcia
5
from Texas. He was traveling interstate, and the car was registered to a man who is now in federal prison for human trafficking.
Now,
And-
when we
go ahead.
talk about the First Amendment, the first thing you go to is letting the Nazis march in Stokely, because to stand up for something as a principle is to do it when the most repulsive people are subject to that principle. So if the Supreme Court comes back and says that Pam Bondi's assessment, that just him being in a terror organization means he violated this withholding order and we can just deport him, if they come back and say that's wrong, he should be brought back. I don't care if he's Satan himself or Hitler himself. He needs to be brought back, and it needs to be done right because we need to stand by these principles the same way.
And
we
how's
let-
that done, Tyler? Do they order
Hold on,
him
that's
to
not
do it at any
exactly
cost?
true, though, Tyler. You say that we would let the Nazis speak right in Stokely. However, you would let like a neo-Nazi group, right? You wouldn't let actually Adolf Hitler, like risen from the dead. We can confirm it's him. Go and give a speech because he
Bro,
would
you
fall
wouldn't let
under
a zombie give a speech? Don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Don't
just to
lie.
see what he
That
said,
shit would
but
be
like,
so cool.
Especially on Halloween.
came back
But sure,
from
you
the
get-
dead speak. Look, I'm
Yeah.
not a fucking Hitler guy, but if the guy came
Okay.
back from the fucking dead, I might listen. I'm
Straight
sorry.
Okay,
up,
fair
you'd
enough,
be like,
fair enough. Okay, you
yes,
know what I'm
it's
trying
on
to say,
television
though.
right now.
We could pick a different
Like,
one
the
that's not that, like if we
kind
could
of a-
actually trace a
There we
member
go.
to the Third Reich and we're gonna have him go out there and give a speech, like they should be able to deport that guy under the Alien whatever act, because that's exactly what it is, to get the commies, to get the fucking Nazis. That's why you have that. You wouldn't let like a member of a foreign government just speak freely like in a negative opposition. Like free speech doesn't apply to them. Like I don't know why that would be your argument there, Tyler.
What's that? The free speech doesn't apply?
Would you would let a member of like Chinese propagandists come in here and just speak freely? Like, is that what you're
If they
saying?
were a
We wouldn't
U.S.
deport them?
citizen, yes. Yeah. If they were a U.S. citizen,
Well,
you
yeah,
could
if they're
say
a US
fuck
citizen,
America.
sure.
Yeah, I listen to punk rock music. They're very anti-American when I was a kid.
Yeah, but you also have to
yes,
renounce
if
the Communist Party when you come here. If
you're
If you immigrate.
Yeah, if it's a
I
Chinese
have
national-
never renounced
base.
the Communist Party. I will say, not once have I
renounced the
ever.
Communist
Yeah,
Party.
but you're also
Renounce
not a
the Communist
Chinese
Party.
immigrant either.
I will renounce I will renounce
still
every
renounce
party
it.
that's not the Buckaroo Party. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're also not a Chinese immigrant, so that's a big
Lots
part
of
As
it.
you
lube.
know.
Hold on, lots
You
of
have
lube.
no
You don't know
idea.
everything
I
about
You
guess.
have no idea.
Hold on,
I
lots of.
I could wager based off how many African American people are in China.
There's a lot of lube and cocaine at
Maybe
the
three?
Buckaroo Party. Just throwing
Yeah,
that
all
out.
three of them.
Big Papa Diddy, Big Diddy Buckaroo.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, don't say that. I do not.
Big Diddy.
Yeah, I mean,
Buckaroo.
But back to this point, it
Did
seems
you know
like
Big
Hassan
Papa
Piker was begging
Armadillo
to go to a
Diddy.
Diddy show?
Save it
Side
for
note?
tomorrow. Save it for tomorrow. We're doing that tomorrow.
yeah,
Oh, I
did
just
know
wanted to
that.
make sure it was said.
Yeah, we did know Hassan was going to do. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Pieces of shit congregate together, so you know, it's not surprised there. But I mean, I think it's kind of. I think some of the Trump's fast moves just exposed the Dems with some of the stuff they're actually standing for. Like, I mean, they're dying on this Garcia hill. And they're trying to argue it's about
Hold
the due process when they didn't follow it for the Chinese people like you brought up. They didn't. It's only convenient for them now. And it's
The
kind of like your
Democrats-
tweet earlier, Petal, where they're like, "Oh, we're going to fight them on every issue, even if it's a bad one."
Right.
Yeah,
Democrats
usually-
never
went down and was
invoked
like, oh,
the
I didn't
alien-
ask him if he was in MS-13. I already know the answer to that. I'm not gonna bother asking that, even though it's being litigated on fucking everywhere in the U.S. right now. It's like that was the most telling thing to me when I saw my own senator ask, "So did you ask him if he was in MS-13?" Since like everyone's talking about this, and my own senator was like, "No, I wouldn't ask him that." It's like, why wouldn't you fucking ask him that? Why wouldn't you just do it? Especially if you knew his answer, which presumably he's trying to insinuate that means the answer is no. Just ask it. Just say that. Yeah, here we go. He said he's not a member,
Yet again,
but they didn't even
we
ask.
Okay,
need
They know that his
representatives
answer is
with
yes.
Fucking spines. Okay, I will go back and say it again. We need representatives with spines. If you are a spineless bitch, don't be a politician. I just have to say, all these weak ass, bitch ass politicians.
Say it. Say the word I love.
Look,
I-
they are getting old, and COVID still exists.
What?
Yeah.
Oh
okay.
wow.
Yeah,
Take a
that's
second.
crazy. Yeah, that's wild. Go ahead, Nonfon. You were trying to. Get
Okay, look. I mean, you
Yeah.
can
I'm
criticize.
saying
I'm not
half of that,
familiar.
I'm just saying.
I'm not familiar with the whole, Biden revoking Chinese student visas. It could be the case that that's bad or whatever. I'm also not familiar with exactly what level of process student visas or people with student visas are entitled to. But Democrats never invoked the Alien Enemies Act, who summarily deport thousands of people. And I find it hilarious that Pentuple is he's
never
so
deported
hung up on the Garcia guy that he. Do you deny, Pentuple, that the point of invoking the Alien Enemies Act is so that we can summarily deport people?
Yeah, it's to help process deportations. Yes, it gives more
Okay.
avenues to deport people.
You recognize
Got,
that's
20
not. That's
million
at
here. We're
least
trying to get a lot of people out.
sure. So do you recognize it's at least maybe you still call it due process? It's at least a much lower standard than if you didn't invoke the Alien Enemies Act.
Wasn't deported under the Alien Enemies
I am
Act.
aware. I know. I just said it's crazy. You're so hung up on this guy that you don't focus on anyone
We're
else.
hung up on him.
I'm not hung up on it. I haven't done any reading about him. But do we? You agree? At least maybe you still call it due process. When someone is deported under the Alien Enemies Act, they have like a much lower standard to be deported than ordinarily. They're summarily deported, right? That's the whole point.
Okay.
Okay, you don't. So why? It's crazy to me that Trump is deporting thousands of people under the Alien Enemies Act without trial,
250.
and we 250. I thought it was more than that by now,
250.
but
Okay.
okay. Presumably, unless I think the Supreme Court has blocked it, right? But presumably, if it weren't for the Supreme Court blocking it, it would be higher. But do you consider people summarily deported under the Alien Enemies Act as receiving due process? Do you still consider that due process?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. Okay. Seems
Yeah,
like
I
a
do.
weird standard to have, but all right.
Most of the people,
And I
almost
just-
every
Well, I don't think
single
you have a great understanding
Hold
of
on,
due process.
I know this one. So no. Almost all the people that have been
Just
deported by the AEA were already in one or many different stages of law enforcement. Either they were detained and adjudicated to be parts of these groups. The reason why we're allowed to use the Aliens Enemies Act, apparently, and it's being frozen right now and reviewed, is because they were deemed terrorist organizations, and that gives us extra rights to kick them out with less due process. That's the only reason why it was
but-
260 people. And they were all in gangs. It's been adjudicated at the same level that Trump being a sexual abuser is adjudicated as well. Same type of case. Do you know what it was offhand, Pentemple, the type of civil case that was? Something estoppel?
What?
The civil case. Something estoppel. So that lawyer, I linked you to it. That lawyer on my Facebook was telling us about it.
I'm not sure what you're
well,
referencing right now.
Well, moving a little bit onward here. I think it's we're getting close to time. I do want to go ahead.
I just wanted to give an honorable mention to our deporter-in-chief, Obama. You really be deporting people. Let's never forget. Great mass deporter.
Thank you,
Thumbs down, but he really did. He really be deporting. Ben.
Yeah. Well, let's up those numbers. But moving on,
Obama
we're gonna-
2028.
yeah, we're over here. We're over here talking about. I think that this is something really interesting this week happened, and I've been saying this, and I know Pentemple, you've been saying this. You've been mentioning how you think that the Democratic Party is dying. I don't know that they're dying so much as they are definitely
Look,
took a big
here's
body
what I
shot,
think.
and now that hold on, they
Um,
definitely took a big
You're
body
good.
shot, and they're struggling mightily, and they look lost. And I have been saying for a while that part of the Democrats' problem is that everything they do is manufactured, and it's like blatantly manipulative, and I think that people are wise to the game, and that's part of the reason people turn to Bernie, and then I think it's the same reason people turn to Trump, right? Because they're like, this is refreshing. They're saying what we want. They're looking out for us. We're sick of the status quo. And then I was watching Wick this week, and they had Visora on, and she's over here advocating for we need to manipulate these people. We know
He's
know
not
more
even
than they
in
do.
America, by the
But
way.
hold on. But she's not the only one. She's like a microcosm, right?
Oh, I have heard this before.
And what's
Yeah.
crazy is you look at the lefties that are growing, and I do keep track of some people, and she's one of them that's growing on Twitch right now. She's growing on, I think, all of her platforms, and it's interesting because it seems like to me the left is turning more. Instead of the people like Fetterman who are trying to build bridges, they're turning more
They
to
are.
the people that are like, "Hey, we want to manipulate people. We should lead them like a certain way because they're actually sheep, and we're better than them, and we know better than them, and we should manufacture people like we're gonna make our own Joe Rogan. It's gonna be Gavin Newsom, or like whatever." And I feel like. I think this is the wrong route because when you look at the right, even now, Trump is rewarding people that got there organically. Like, right, we all know Tim Pool being at the White House, being like, oh, he's just a sycophant.
Organically.
But there's like, yeah, but okay, so well, I guess he's not a great organic example, maybe, but other people are organic
Most
examples.
people who get there organically.
Well, okay, I mean, I'm just using him as an example. He's
but-
not a traditional news source. Like,
He's
George
rewarding
Rogan-
alternative media
I wasn't
pundits who
saying-
ask him the
I
most
wasn't saying-
softball
but you're
dick suck
seeing, like,
questions
you're seeing-
I'm
ever.
not saying
this,
that
but they're not
about-
organic,
I'm
like,
not saying that
creation.
about Tim
It's
Pool.
very
I'm saying that
manufactured.
about most of the people that are being uplifted by Trump who are organically getting to where they are. Just like Trump organically got to where
No,
he is.
I'm just saying that that's not what I mean. When I say organic, I don't mean that like Trump is uplifting. I'm saying that these people, like when you go and talk to them, it's their beliefs, right? Like they're like gonna give you their thoughts or whatever. Versus like if you like watch Gavin Newsom, you watch like whatever the shit is, they're like, oh, it's the same talking points as MSNBC. That's
Yeah,
No,
like
what
how
are
I'm
you
saying.
on about,
Do you actually
bro?
think?
You don't think
no,
so?
I do think he's right. There is a bit of same think when you listen to Democrats on popular media, like especially on old media, like on TV. It's literally almost all of them are saying the exact same things.
I mean, Visora sounds like
across
Rachel
the
Maddow.
board.
Escalated.
I would say
Buckaroo,
I
I
would
hate
say
you.
a lot of
I
the
hate
more
you.
popular Dems
Never.
going on television often say the similar things. But I think a part of personally, I think a part of the problem is actually Dems want to hold themselves to a certain level of formality that previously they saw as regal, but I would say really just makes them look like fucking naggy bitches.
Assholes.
Like pretentious assholes. It seems more like they're ready to sit there and nag you about what you're doing as opposed to do something themselves. Even if, like, I think when we saw Buttigieg on the Flagrant podcast recently, I actually thought that was a great change from what we usually see from Democrats, which is just people with sticks up their ass who clearly had like tons of media training. They were ready to answer every single question and answer it exactly the way that they needed to sound right.
I'll turn it over to you, Nonfon, because I see you objecting. I'll give you one specific example that is, I think, is a prime one. Right? Is the Republicans lack empathy? Right? That is one I've heard for the last like 2 months. It's Republicans lack empathy, and then they quote that bullshit study where it's like, oh, they care about their family and their friends and whatever, and then Dems or lefties care about it wider. And then I watch, like I said, I was watching Wicked Visor this week, and I think this is a microcosm of a greater issue. And she's like, well, they don't have empathy, and I go, well, the entire reason I ever came on a debate panel in the first place was over the immigration issue, because my ranch was being damaged, right? And there was problems. I had friends die throughout my life due to cartel violence, et cetera, all tied to immigration. And I came on, I talked about it, and the first couple panels I got, I think this is the exact quote, was, "You're a rich landowner, fuck you." And I'm like, okay. And so if one party's answer is fuck you, and the other party is like, well, we'll hear you out, which one do you think I'm going to be more empathetic to? And then for them to sit here and tell me, oh, these Republicans aren't empathetic, when I brought a problem to everybody and the response was fuck you, is, to me, laughable. And secondly, how dare they get on a moral high horse and call me not empathetic when they're telling me to go fuck myself? I think it's rich, and I think there's a lot of Americans that echo that. What are your thoughts, Nonfon? You're objecting.
There's so many things I'm so mad about right now. Listen. Number one, Trump is not rewarding people who got there organically or whatever. He's rewarding alternative media pundits who ask the most like dick suck questions I've ever seen. Like, it's insane. You have people asking him, or asking Pam Bondi or whoever the press secretary is, like, are we gonna look at election fraud from Hillary Clinton and Barack Hussein Obama? It's like, dog, kill me. What are you on about? And then the media pundits on the right are like people like Benny Johnson, who like say the most unhinged, crazy shit ever. There's I love Benny Johnson use an example because there's that clip of him like during the Kamala crash or whatever, saying, "Oh, bloody, stock market's down. Kamala needs to get on camera now." And then when the stock market crash happens under Trump because of Trump's tariffs, by the way, he's like, "Oh, losing money costs you nothing." You have people like the Quartering saying like, "Oh, we don't need any of this stuff from China." It's insane. When you find yourself defending universal tariffs and all the alternative media is for some reason supporting that as well, you guys have entirely lost the fucking plot. I don't know what to tell you. That's
and
like an indefensible.
Still more honest than the people that covered up Biden's dementia.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely are. That's a constitutional crisis.
Democrats.
Well, we can come back. Tiberius, go ahead. And then we'll go to you, Buckaroo.
All right, as a member of the team that everyone wants to disown, right? Team disowned from everybody. I'm going to say that I think both parties are dying. They're just dying in different ways and at different speeds. I'll confirm my bias that the Democrats are dying slower than I wanted them to. I wanted this to be like the Republicans' last ass-kicking. I wanted to see them move on from Trump, but find what was good about the old Republican Party, what was good about Trump, and try to like meld them into something coherent. And I don't think they have succeeded in that, and I don't think they're going to be a really good party until they do. The Democrats, on the other hand, they were already falling apart. I knew this was coming. You have a party of unions, socialists, and Greens all in the same party, and they're all supposed to figure out economic policy. Yeah, that shit ain't gonna fucking fly, folks. And now big business is trying to get into that party too. No, like this party is doomed to fail. I was just hoping it would survive this coalition long enough to eject Trump, and then the Republicans could fix their shit while they were waiting in the wings, and then whoever came in the Republicans in 28 literally had a 60% voting threshold that they
came in a
just
few
blew
Republicans.
out. Huh?
I've came in a few Republicans.
Hey, yo.
Well,
That's good to know.
Well,
I guess.
that was what I was hoping for. Like what I'm watching now is that we're just in a race to the bottom. Whoever is in the shitty position just gets more toxic, more crazy, more rambunctious, and then somehow we forget about it 2 years later, and we just keep trading and voting for the other guy because we hate the guy who's in charge now. This is not a way to run a country. It fucking pisses me off. It's just right now it's the Democrat turns to be snobby little cunts. Because we watched that for the last 4 years when Republicans told us that they, the Democrats somehow stole a fucking election. Like, fuck all of you. Just legitimately fuck all of you. I'm tired of this shit. I really am.
That's why you get this owned.
And
There you
I
go.
think I will say, at least on the point of all the like more messy people that Trump has supported, I will say I think that is a huge part in why Democrats thought it was so important to maintain this level of formality. At least from my perspective, I think they saw it as a challenge to Trump's informality, was being formal, because a lot of them were like, oh yeah,
Why are you
this-
saying?
I
Why
mean,
are
I
you
don't- I
saying
don't
this
agree
in
with it,
front of
but they're
people
like,
who
yeah, they'll still
denied
go, but they're
the
gonna
election
wear a
results?
pink
What are
suit
you
so
doing,
everybody knows.
Buckaroo?
Like
Ah,
it's
why?
like weird sassy like non-fun. That kind of is like the like Democrat handbook is like, well, follow all the rules, but look really annoyed while you're doing it.
I don't entirely
Basically all it is.
disagree with you, and I think
And-
Democrats should be fighting
Yeah.
more. But also, like, dude, the Senate Republicans won't even stand up to Trump on universal tariffs in his Senate, and
I
like
agree.
just kill me. Like what are you?
I agree there are issues with Republicans, but I like.
Hold-
I
there-
like
this is-
thinking
hold on.
about why,
This
why
isn't
my
just-
side's doing wrong, because I think a lot of people are already doing the for me.
This is an issue from
but-
Republicans. This is
I
Republicans are
honestly-
suicidal. They are jumping off a cliff for
Yeah.
Donald Trump, who's not even supposed to be able to run a third term, but they know
But
like.
hold on,
Jumping off a
hold on,
cliff,
hold on,
winning
hold on,
the
hold on.
popular
My
vote for the
problem-
first
I-
time.
Pentuple, do
Dude.
you think Pentuple, everyone, even a lot of conservative people, relatively conservative people, or independents, fucking hate the tariffs? Trump is. I don't think Republicans are going to do well in the midterms if these
hold on.
tariffs stay in place. That's.
Polls. I was
Hold on,
looking
you
at
said-
polls
hold on.
today.
Hold on, you
They
said
said
something
that people
interesting
was
there.
mad about them tariffs.
Hey, don't
Well,
pick
hold on,
fights
hold
in
on.
my poll.
Hold on, not but you said
When you
something
mentioned
interesting
polls,
there.
Tyler, I'll fucking
Hold on.
reach through this fucking screen.
Oh, you said something interesting there, which is that like Republicans are suicidal, and I would argue like in this case, which is that the Dems are being kind of suicidal with their tactics because, like I said, I'm seeing who's growing, and it seems to be the ones doubling down on the things that are like kind of in line with what like Visora was saying. They're like, oh, we need to be, we know better than them. We have to manipulate them in a certain way. If we can't do it with ourselves, we should be. We're smarter than them.
I have heard
I think
actual
people-
leftists
I think-
say this shit.
I think the
I
reason-
think people are wise to this.
Ironically, leftists
like-
talking about needing more leftist propaganda.
Yeah, and like
full-fledged conversations about this.
versus Republicans, I don't know a single Republican that's sat here and go, we need to get the propaganda out. We're all just out here going, well, this is an issue that bothers me. Let's fucking talk about it. And it feels very manufactured. I
think part of the issue is that the Dems that are and people who are really standing up to Trump right now are like the progressive ones who even I like obviously have some disagreements with. Like we're not seeing moderate Democrats really stand up to Trump in the way that I would like.
Moderate
but-
Democrats don't give a fuck. That's why. Because
well,
they're
that's yeah. But also,
What can they do anyway?
I,
Like,
I do actually I do think there is an issue of like rising just outright hate from leftists that is the left's the left, and I think it's honestly going to get worse before it gets better. In the same way that Visora, literally when we were on a panel last week, she started yelling at me. She yelled at me about how stupid I was and then repeated my points back to me, okay? So this is like a serious issue, especially the further left you go from Democrats. This is a massive issue where they're like,
Buckaroo, I'm gonna yell at you. Don't apologize for the far left in front of these fucking people when the MAGA coalition is in complete control of the Republican Party. Like I said, Republicans won't won't stand up to Trump on anything right now. It's insane.
Hold on, Nonfon.
My point is that there is no unity in the first place. There's nothing that can be done by a community that is more interested in aggressively, and I know I'm a part of this right now, but aggressively policing itself than they are actually taking political action. Which is a part of my issue. You see, like, most of the leftists online, I would argue, probably aren't even politically active past bitching online.
I do
what
agree
the fuck
with
is
that.
that going to do? And
Well,
so
here's
when
my-
and we see this rise in hate, what exactly fuels that hate? And where exactly does the hate come out? Fucking online.
Well, I mean, to your point, though, this is the other thing, right? Like, when Republicans talk to like leftists or like people on the left, right? And we're mad about X, Y, Z, right? You know, a lot of Republicans, it feels like, can empathize, right? But then we're told that if we have an issue, we bring it up, that any issue we have is racist, or it's, you know,
Or you're just wrong.
or you're wrong, or you're a shitty person for wanting this, or you don't have empathy for these people. And it's like, well, where's your empathy for my issues? And I think I mean, one party like is saying the other doesn't have empathy. The other party's like, well, we have issues, right? But like, they're not over here like, fuck them all. Maybe there's the Christian right contingent that's like, we hate the transes, but like, you know, I think that's, you know, just one faction, as opposed to, it seems like it's the whole faction of the left. It's like kind of pushing the, like, you don't have empathy. Like,
Listen,
kind of,
Online.
I say this
Online.
shit
I
all
just
the
want
time.
to add,
Gibbs
online
does
it is very different.
Gibbs is doing it right. I am a left-winger. I believe in fucking climate policy and workers' rights and all. Gibbs is constantly trying to recruit me to his side.
yes.
Every time I talk to a left-winger, they're telling me I'm not sufficiently left enough.
Side.
Yeah,
you just
I'm
don't
always
know it.
told I'm not sufficiently left-wing enough, and I'm a bad person for it. It's like, fuck you. I'm not gonna vote for you. Then kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Well, I got this dude telling me, hey man, I don't care what you think. Just come vote with us, cause like we can hang out and shit. It's like,
we
all
can
right.
figure it out later. You know.
I absolutely
At least-
reject this on so many fucking levels. It's pissing me off a little
will
bit.
No, people
At
say that
least
all the
what
time. If you
happens,
agree
like,
with
within
the
the
MAGA, like
community.
5%, they're gonna induct you into MAGA. But
No,
if you disagree
yeah,
with
okay,
Democrat
well, I'm the
5%,
exception
they're
then,
gonna
because
excise you from
anytime
the
I
party.
agree with MAGA, it's like, oh, Ty's cool for about 10 seconds, and then Ty can get fucked, all right? No,
Well, that's
this
'cause you say one MAGA thing, and then you say like the most insane, like authoritarian leftist idea next, right?
You want to
after.
be in the
Well,
middle.
Yeah,
Trevor.
definitely-
You don't want to be
definitely
MAGA.
matters,
You
like,
know
there are definitely
don't want
some
us to
things
embrace
that
you.
that MAGA will still
Yeah.
kick you out for. I do agree. There are still some things that you can say where they're like, we
Oh
don't
yeah,
like
we
you,
will kick people
but
out. We
they
will definitely kick
still
people
want
out.
you to vote,
That's
and
let
they
me-
still will often advocate for the vote at least.
let me hit
compared to
this.
leftists.
Like, I don't believe that either of these two parties are all that welcoming and all that embracing outside of like a certain little threshold they got, and the proclivities are a little weird.
You never went to the Trump rally, did you?
No, I did not. Anyway, long story short,
on.
when it comes to the Democrats, pretentious
Like a
as fuck, 1000%. And I have no problem with watching academia bleed for the next 4 years. It's going to be beautiful. On the other side of this, when it comes to the Republicans, I don't know how to put it in as simple as of a term that I have with the left, because I can just say pretentious and be done with it. The Republicans and the right are on a fucking weird bender right now where
Hell yeah, we're like that championship parade energy. Let's go.
you got that, so you guys aren't annoying as fuck to talk to right now. Like, you guys aren't being remotely the cunts the left are. On the other side of that, it's like there's definitely an inflated ego in the room. It's like, yeah, we've got all this and that. I'm like, you won the last election 50 to 48. Like, this can blow up in your face so fucking bad, literally in 2 years. Like, let's keep perspective, and it's just not there. Like, I would like some refreshment in the room. I really would.
I like it's I don't know, it's
I-
fucking insane to me to say, oh, the left is pretentious and their
I
cunts
just-
were like MAGA's the one in control, and it feels like, I don't know, it feels like, again, most Republicans just aren't willing to stand up to Trump on almost any fucking thing. and then
we voted for the guy. This is our guy.
I understand you voted-
You're not willing to
If you
stand up
find
against the guy that you
serious-
voted for. That's doing the platform.
there are
that you voted for.
obviously
Why aren't
people
you
in the
opposing
Republican
him?
Party even today that aren't like full MAGA Trump, but it feels like they're not willing to go against him on anything, even things that are probably
Yeah, like,
within their interest to
they've all
do.
been-
Yeah,
And
weird,
then-
right?
Here's
It's
the
so weird
cinema
that the
and
guy in
film.
the party of the guy that's
I-
running things don't want to obstruct the guy in their party.
You remember when Kirsten
I agree,
Sinema and John
Nonfon.
Ashton stood up to Joe Biden and they got called fascist and adjacent to segregationists and kicked out of the party? We have Ron Paul, Mitch McConnell, and all these people that just voted that there's no emergency to Canada and took Trump's emergency powers away. So that's
Well, there was that. I'll give you
big
that.
to stand
Well,
up to.
but
Non-fun-
non-fun. I
agree.
actually have a video right here. We're gonna share with the
Oh,
class,
boy.
and
Okay.
this is what
Oh,
this
here
is
we are.
this is what you're doing right now, and this is what Pentuple's saying, and I actually
Okay.
kind of echo this.
Oh,
I don't know if y'all have seen this, but this
Did you
is
see what Trump did? He's rounding up mostly documented migrants to send them back. Bet you regret voting for him now, huh?
No, that's pretty much why we voted him into office, really.
He's even rounding up innocent illegals who didn't even commit a crime.
Illegal immigration is definitely illegal.
But did you know that Trump has already started sending peace-loving, patriotic, undocumented foreigners back to their countries of origin? On planes? Bet you regret voting for Trump now, don't you?
Bet you regret voting Republican, huh?
I mean, now that I know this was always possible, I regret voting for every other Republican.
Oh my gosh! Mexico just denied the plane of undocumented doctors and lawyers that Trump sent over.
All right, that'll teach him.
Oh no!
Oh, never mind.
Jesus, why?
Trump is throwing undocumented better than us angel darling immigrants out of planes? Oh, you have to regret voting for him now.
You regret it yet?
You must be regretting it now.
Oh my gosh! Trump just signed an executive order to install a 50-foot tall wall around the entire country with moats full of alligators and fully automated laser turrets and razor wire at the top, and it's already finished construction!
Sharks with laser beams on top of their heads.
Magnificent.
Alligators can climb.
Bet you regret
You must
voting
regret it
for
now.
him.
Definitely regret
I know you're regretting your vote now.
Wow. All great news. Thank you, guys, for brightening
That's
my
great.
day.
I can't believe that didn't work.
Yeah,
Seamus is the man.
Trump specifically said they were going to get tired of winning.
yeah, that's kind of how so non-fun. That's kind of how like what you're saying kind of sounds to you. You're like, oh, the Republicans aren't objecting, and it's like, why would they be objecting to any of this shit? Like,
I mean, I understand
I
there's
voted for more
almost like
deportations
no
than we've
line
gotten
Trump could
already.
cross that would make you regret your vote for him. But like, I mean, number
Yeah,
one,
but
it does
true,
seem
But
like
him
there.
delivering on exactly what he said. is
First of all,
certainly
it
not
does
the
seem
line.
like there
That's
are a
clearly
decent
not where
amount
the
of.
line would
I
be.
know, but your promises are insane. That's why, like, I try to debate you on the merits of these
Yeah, you
policies all the
lost.
time.
Guess
and that-
what? This is
I'll
what democracy
tell you-
is.
Come on, guys.
I know, I understand. You don't want to engage with the merits of any of
Enjoy the
these
loss.
with any of these
No,
claims. That's why you still.
I
I
tell you, not fun. I'll build a bridge with you right now, not fun. If
Okay,
there's one
great.
issue that would make me vote Democrat tomorrow, like right now, and I would say fuck Trump, is if they pass this, if they start pushing this assault weapons ban, and they start trying to come for my guns, I'm ready to go fight tomorrow. Like that's, or suddenly
I am
I'll be,
so interested to see what they do.
yeah,
with
if they do
guns.
that shit,
I'm
suddenly I'm gonna be
genuinely.
like, this motherfucker gotta go. Like that would be like, you would see me reject like that. But all these other things, I'm like, hey, you know, this is what we voted for. Why do you think Republicans would like push back on that in Congress, like at any level? I don't understand why you think they would do that whenever their constituents are all like, that's what I wanted.
I don't. So number one, I'm not convinced that a lot of, relatively, I understand Trump has this, MAGA fucking cult base that is going to support him no matter what, like Pentuple. But there seems to be a decent amount of independents who didn't think Trump was going to do as insane shit as he is doing. And that's why his approval rating on things like the economy is dropping. And I understand that there are a lot of Republicans who are scared that if they go against Trump, for example, again, like on the tariffs, that Trump is going to go after them and Elon might fund their fucking primary opponent. I understand why that they don't want to fight up against him, but it's obviously if there was an anonymous vote in the Senate on Trump's universal tariffs, it would be 95 against. And it's just because they don't want to bear the political cost that Republicans are not standing up to him in Congress.
What's wrong
Tyler,
with
go
that?
ahead.
I don't agree with this at all.
There you go. I meant you.
What's wrong with
That's
that?
you, Tiberius. Go
Oh,
ahead.
my
And
bad.
then- yeah, sorry. Yeah, I meant Tiberius. I said Tyler. Go ahead. You go after him.
Yeah, I don't agree
TJ.
with this at all. I think that to a large degree, this is just a great example of the American gaslighting experiment that we've been doing on ourselves. We do
Yeah,
this
I do
all the
like
time with.
gaslighting.
We do this all the time on the internet, but the media's been doing it really bad to the left lately, to where they'll go to an interview to a teacher from Mississippi, and they're like, yeah, I voted for Donald Trump, and he cut the education funding, and yada, yada, yada. And there's definitely people who are among that, like, cohort of folks. But by the way the media makes it look, by the way the social media makes it look, you would think it's like millions upon millions upon millions of people, and
It's
like
like
if the election was going to be held again today, Trump would lose his ass, and it's like it's probably less than 300,000 altogether, right? It's probably not even enough to swing the election in one state yet. Like, that's the reality
I
that
think
you're
you make a
dealing
good
with.
I
point.
don't know if that's real.
Schumer, for example, like I said today, that reporter cooked him. I don't know if y'all saw that. It was like Rise Live. Schumer's like, this is the lowest president in a while of the first 100 days polling. And the reporter's like, well, what are you? That's interesting you say that. Your polling puts you at 17% right now. Any thoughts? And he's like, who knows, but polls come and go or some shit. And I was just like, yeah, interesting. It works for one, but doesn't work for the other. I was just like, I think that you're kind of right there, Tiberius. They go find the 5 people. It's like anytime they have a race issue, you always see Al Sharpton interviewed. Like how many times can we interview Farrakhan and Al Sharpton about why white people are bad? I don't know. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I was going to agree there. I think Nonfon's just slightly jumping the gun a little bit. He is right that the polling, especially on the economy, is shrinking. But if you look at the aggregate right now in polling, Trump is still up 9 points on Joe Biden. Democrats are still down like 6 points on Republicans generally. And if you look at like the split of how they would vote in Congress, Republicans are up like 2.2 last I looked. I didn't look at that one today. So they're still ahead. Just because the Republicans are losing popularity does not mean the Democrats are gaining it. They're still just as unpopular because they're double down on a lot of their unpopular policies right now. So I'm kind of going with Tiberius that I don't see enough to say it's flipping. I think we're seeing people say both parties fucking suck right now. But in terms of people not turning on Trump, that's how the parties work. I don't mean to quote House of Cards, but that's Kevin Spacey's job, is to be the whip and make sure everybody in the party votes how they're supposed to, or we're going to primary you out.
Is to sycophantically like follow a lunatic? What are like?
He's not a lunatic.
He's 100% a lunatic. What are you on about?
Let me.
Pelosi's nickname was the Iron Fist with a velvet glove because anybody stepped out of line at one point, she would completely run them out of office, and that's what they did with the Squad when they came out against Jews. So.
First of all, not even all of it.
I got to roll soon here.
Yeah,
I got to do closing whenever.
Yeah, we'll end it after they go real quick. Go ahead.
Is it my turn or is Nonfon?
No, let Nonfon go to Tiberius.
Oh, okay. Oh, fuck, what was I going to say? Trump is obviously a lunatic. That's all I have to say. Okay.
Tiberius?
I'll split the middle here. Like, obviously, I'm not a fan of Trump. I think he brings a level of, what's the word here? He just brings too much chaos and not enough, like, planning. Like, or at least that's the general level that I get off of this guy. There's too much of a bag of cats with him. I would very much like to see maybe even DeSantis, but far more like Dan Crenshaw take the reins of this bitch and actually move it somewhere. Somewhere where it's planned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy.
I know. God. Oh no, it's terrible.
It's funny you say that because like Dan Crenshaw.
I pissed him off. Trap card activated. I can't even finish what I'm saying.
MAGA HQ disavows Dan Crenshaw.
I'm gonna let you finish. I just think it's funny
here we go.
Dan Crenshaw because I don't actually have a huge problem with Dan Crenshaw. Maybe on a few issues. But it's really interesting.
MAGA HQ disavows Admiral. No, I'm just kidding.
You interesting to bring him up because he's like actually incredibly unpopular here in Texas, like outside of his district for like a plethora of reasons. And it's funny that like from the outside, someone's like, "Yeah, it's Crenshaw," like because it's like I don't know, it's just interesting to me. But go ahead, finish out.
Well, look. He's a lot of things I want to see from the Republican Party, and don't get me wrong, there's some things I still very much disagree with him from, but I think he's able to take a lot of the proclivities that Trump has where he's going to force the issue and shove it down somebody's throat. The guy's a fucking ex-SEAL. Yeah, he could totally do that. At the same time,
Republican if Dan Crenshaw was the candidate?
Yeah, like I primaried for Haley back in
just making sure.
Last year.
Just making sure. If you're going to be like, no, I still wouldn't vote for him, I'd be like, stop telling my party what to do then. Motherfucker. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like I mean, there's things I want to see Democrats do. There's things I want to see Republicans do.
Yeah, I want to see the Democrat Party disappear. That's what I want to see.
I'm sure
and
you do.
Gives his point because he mentioned I did talk about this on Twitter earlier, but
Anyway.
I don't think the Democrat Party's dead yet. But I think this is the type of loss that you see that starts that. Like, if a party is going to die, they need a loss like this to kind of kick off that trend. But I'll get my closing real quick because I do have to get out of here.
All right,
you can go ahead. You can go ahead and close
now.
that. We'll all go to closings here. Go ahead, W. Starts off.
But I'll just say, as far as MAGA HQ is concerned, Trump gets an A+ grade. He's delivering on all the promises, and there's more to deliver on. And it's only been 100 days. As of right now, I couldn't be more confident that he's going to deliver on exactly what we desired. So A+, let's go. We got how many more days left? Well, I'm sure somebody will be keeping track.
All right.
Add 4 years.
Where can they find you?
Find me on Twitch, MAGA HQ, poker and baseball on Twitch. I'll see y'all later.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Tyler. Take us with yours.
Oh, we're doing closings already? I thought we were having...
Yeah.
All right.
That's about that time.
Tyler, average debate enjoyer. As you noticed, every great comment that came from my other panelists started with, as Tyler was saying, because those were the best points, obviously. And if you could just mute everybody, listen to me, and I'll tell you, like, what you should believe, because I'm always right. The only thing that matches my intellect is my empathy. And sometimes when I sit down in the toilet, my dick falls in the toilet water because it's so large. So, it just is what it is.
All right, fantastic. It's always good to hear about. It's always good to hear about Dick Toilet Water. You know what, Tiberius, you can follow him up. You can follow him up with after that.
All right. Well, I heard a lot more as Tiberius was saying, but you go off, King. All right. As far as if I have to give the president a report card as his first 100 days, I'll give him a D. But as far as why we have this conversation in the first place, if you're a true Republican, I'm going to say something that needs to go out. Why are you going by a standard set by a fucking Democrat in the first damn place? First 100 days was FDR's thing. Are you the party of FDR? No, you're not. You're the party of Teddy. You're the party of Eisenhower. Start acting like it. Go by their example. You'll learn a lot.
All right. Thank you so much. Nonfon.
Yeah, like I said on my opening, I think you're seeing a lot of bad shit, insane things done in a fucking insane way, where it's done through the executive branch, not through Congress, under questionable legal authority, and it's shit that we've never seen before out of U.S. presidents. Like, again, the alien, or at least not in the modern period, like the Alien Enemies Act deportations, like the USAID stuff, like the tariffs. It's bad shit insane. You all should catch me talking about it and debating people about it on my Twitch and Kick, Nonfon420, and on my YouTube channel at Nonfon. We can go watch all my old debates.
I do want to say that Pentemple's posted a meme. I don't think he's thought this meme out. He's got a guy holding kryptonite and Nonfon as Superman, and Nonfon's doing whatever, and he's saying, "Yeah, I guess he's calling you Superman." And he's Lex Luthor. I don't know if those are the.
Nonfon, you're so powerful. Wow, he really respects you.
I don't know. I don't know if that was what you were going for with that meme. That might be a backfire there. I'm just saying, you backfired on that one. I think that you could have done better on that meme, Pentemple. Could have done better. You could have done like General Salami's car, and then like it blown up, and then that could have been Nonfon or something. But no, you went with Superman. Fail. Anyway, Buckaroo.
Yeah, Trump's a messy bitch. He's been doing it all the messy way. I think time will tell for the future regarding tariffs, regarding the Democratic and Republican parties. I personally don't have that much hope. Trump's a messy bitch. There are tons of things that he's doing right now that he could do legally. Especially when it comes to the deportations. I just think it's so ridiculous. It's not that fucking hard to just follow the law, and then lo and behold, you don't have all of these suits coming at you because you've decided to ignore basic protocol. I mean, to me, it's just an obvious sign that Trump is clearly a businessman, not a politician. And I understand that people take issue with politicians for their varying levels of transparency, but I don't think that means you have to move fast and break things, considering it's a government that serves actual people with lives. It's not a company where, what you're losing is money. What you're losing is people. So, messy bitch.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This is a good one. It's always fun. Tomorrow, I think we're going to be on Modi's dating show as always. So check that out. That'll be fun. Yeah, and listen, watch that. What you shouldn't watch is Tyler watching Visora. That's not what you should watch because he made sure to schedule it on a night he knew I had plans. What a hater. He did this on purpose. Shame.
I do one panel a week, and it's next Friday. This Friday is Hassan and Ethan Klein.
It's going to be so good. I cannot wait.
What
I will
are
be there.
what are the odds that they bring Destiny on or something? Do you think? You
Oh no, I don't think that. We are actually bringing on our expert terrorist sympathizer Ali.
Yeah, I'm
blessed.
I am.
I'm.
I don't think Twitch would even ban him if they like surprised him with Destiny. Like the guy said he supports terrorism and then got like not even a 24-hour ban. I don't think they're gonna get him because someone like bamboozled him with like a 10-second Destiny appearance. Like even if he did, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's got Dan Clancy's phone number.
Yeah.
Like, my bad,
Listen.
bro. Like,
You guys are sleeping on my boy, Econo Boy. He's going on Tim Pool tomorrow to
Sure
debate
he
the
is.
welfare
He's
state.
going
Oh,
My
nice.
goat.
He
I
is going on
actually
there?
really like Econoboy. I actually really want to learn more from his videos because
Econo Boy is the only
You can learn how to be a
former
socialist?
DGGer that is not a
Fuck yeah.
spineless cunt hack. The
nah.
Econo Boy,
Okay.
I have more than
He's a
only nice
DGGer?
things. He used to be. But he's the only
Damn.
former DGGer that's not a spineless cunt hack that went and hid after the election. Like Hutch, who owes me money. That dude's a fucking coward.
Hutch, if you're listening, he wants his money. I guess I don't know.
You're a fucking coward, Hutch. Fuck you.
Run into the
Hutch,
pockets. I don't know. I don't have
speak
anything
to your
to do with
level
it.
of cowardice.
Yeah, I don't-
However,
I don't know. He did wonder if I was.
is he on
What was
mine?
it? He did wonder if I was stealing valor with my name. I thought that's my favorite Hutch quote. Yeah,
What?
yeah. He asked this chat after the debate. He's like, "Yeah, that guy I think stealing valor with the name Admiral Gibbs." I'm like, "It's from Star Wars. It was a Star Wars thing when I was like 13. The same name. Yeah, you know, whatever." But they wouldn't let me put Grand Admirals because it was too long. So we went with Admiral. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. On that note, yeah, we're gonna end now. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. Check us out tomorrow, and y'all have a good rest of y'all's evening. Thanks for coming, guys.
You as well.
See you guys.
Oh hell, he bounced out. He bounced out first. I was surprised by that.
Fast.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, Jesus, yell at me. That was horrible, Jesus.
That was pain. That was all pain to sit through. Nothing but pain to sit through. I peeked in like halfway through, so I
Right.
missed a decent amount of it. Oh god, I'm just gonna go through the comments I was leaving you to see if I can remember. There was just too much to. Oh my god. Okay, so the fact that I think it was Pentuple that said this, that like, oh yeah, he's the leader of the Republican Party. Why would we try to stymie him? Why would we try to like kneecap the leader of our party? Like why are we acting like such partisan hacks about everything? Like why is it unrealistic to say that like, oh yeah, the leader of my party is violating the Constitution? Do I want to uphold the Constitution or do I want to toe the party line? Like, why is it like a badge of honor to wear at this point that like you are a partisan hack? I don't understand that. The fucking oh my god, the cartoon that they played where they were literally
Kill
saying,
me, I know. It's like
it ended up proving your point like so well because like they were like talking about shooting fucking immigrants with laser guns and they're like, yep, that's what I voted for based.
it's like, yeah, I know. It's like, okay.
You
yep,
voted
I
for
know.
electrocuting immigrants and you're standing by that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, Gibbs saying that the thing that would make him a Democrat tomorrow is the Second Amendment because that's the only amendment that means anything in the Constitution. You can kind of trample over the rest of it as long as you don't touch the Second Amendment. An A+ on Trump. Like, I don't even understand how Republicans can view what he's doing right now as an A+ with no legislation and with no like
that, by the way, I
stymied by the
should've-
courts at every
Yeah, I know.
stage and getting rejected by your own Supreme Court.
I should have. I mentioned that a little bit. in my opening and my closing, I think once or twice during the debate, where it's just like Trump is doing all this through the executive branch under, at the very least, questionable legal authority. Like there has not really been any major laws passed. There was like a continuing resolution or whatever, but like there's been
I know of 3. It's like the resolution, the Lake and Riley Act, which is fucking crazy.
I guess, yep.
And the one that hasn't been signed in, but like has popular support to go through, like that deepfake porn one, which like that's an okay one. I think we're okay with that. To act like that's what everyone voted for, like that was numero uno, priority number 1. I don't know about that, but it seems like the only person who's effective in legislating is his goddamn wife that hates him.
Yep.
Because the only person that's responsible for getting that deepfake porn bill through is Melania. Trump takes absolutely no credit for that, other than managing to tie her down.
Yeah.
It's oh my god. And then the conservatives are so good at framing the Kilmar Abrego-Garcia or Abrego-Garcia case.
Mm-hmm.
The idea.
Which I haven't. I will admit, I should have. I knew that shit was gonna come up, and I should have done more research on it. But like, kill me. It's like I mentioned this in the debate. It's insane to me. Pentuple like completely laughs off. Oh, you fell for the new no due process thing. Kilmar Garcia got a court hearing, and I'm like, the entire point of invoking the Alien Enemies Act is to summarily deport people. Like, do you deny that? But yeah, I should have done more of the Kilmar Garcia guy. I know.
Oh my god, Did he say that Garcia got a court date?
Yep.
He's lying. I hope you know. Okay. Well, he's not lying. Okay. His court date was in 2019. All right. That court date resulted in him getting a withholding of removal, which said that he couldn't be deported to El Salvador.
And then he was deported.
The due process determined that what Donald Trump is doing is illegal. So, and also the due process claim is typically separated from the Kilmar Abrego-Garcia case. That's typically not associated with that. The Kilmar Abrego-Garcia case is relevant. Not even any discussion about who he is as a person is completely and wholly irrelevant. Just keep that in mind. Any criminal background he has, any weird tattoos he has, any sports team that he reps is completely irrelevant. It is this simple. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the Trump campaign has to, or the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego-Garcia, right?
Yep.
And then in an interview, Trump says that he has the ability to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego-Garcia, but he thinks he's a bad hombre, so he's not going to do it.
They'll say, oh, facilitate just means if El Salvador lets him out, they have to bring him back. It doesn't mean Trump actually has to do anything. And it's like, okay, dog, kill me.
Trump conceded that he can facilitate his return. He said, I think the quote was like, he could have him back in the United States right now.
Yeah.
The reason he's not doing it is because he's a bad guy, which that's violating a Supreme Court order. That's violating a Supreme Court order. Which is illegal. I don't know if that needs to be said. I feel like
but they voted for it.
Probably put that piece together. The idea that you can vote to terminate the Constitution is nutty. It's crazy.
Yep.
And also the fall for the due process thing is so stupid. Oh my god. So the due process claims come mostly from a class action lawsuit called JGG versus Trump. Where it described rounding people up on the grounds of the Alien Enemies Act before the executive order declaring the Alien Enemies Act had even been filed. Before it was public, they were rounding these people up. They were in Texas, boarding planes, and then they managed to file a lawsuit. And then a temporary restraining order was put in place. I don't even think a day later, because these people were directly at threat of getting shipped off to El Salvador. All right. I think the span between rounding them up and shipping them off was like a day or two, maybe, without telling them that they have the ability to file for relief or file to challenge their detention. So that's where the robbing of due process comes from, is that they were rounding these people up and trying to ship them out as fast as possible without telling them that they're able to file for relief. And before the declaration of the Alien Enemies Act was even public.
Yep. And then
Oh,
also,
God.
there were cases of them like moving people around, right, to make sure their lawyers didn't
Yes.
get to them. There were cases of that as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why. So the Trump campaign, like when they were fighting the temporary restraining order on deporting these people, they were like, "Yeah, we're like they should be able to file a claim, but they need to file a habeas claim, which is basically like you have to file it in the district you're being detained in, and it's like a claim in order to get released from detention." But the problem with that is that they're saying, okay, you say that these people have the right to file a habeas claim, right? And the Trump campaign would say, yeah. And then they're like, okay, do we have the right to know where our people are being held? And they said, well, no. And it's like, okay, well, how the fuck am I going to file in the district that they're being held if you won't
Right.
tell me where they're being held? Yeah. And then they said, like, okay, let's say we lift the temporary restraining order. Are you going to deport these people right away? And then they said, yeah, probably. It's like, okay. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. And the fact that, like, Pentuple's a lawyer. He knows this. I know he's smart. Like, he was keeping up in the Doge debate. I don't know if it's
he's
just...
smart. I don't know.
He is. I don't know if it's that he is... I can't tell if it's that he is too lazy to do the reading or too lazy to make a good point when he knows that people don't know the talking points.
Right,
I
sure.
can't tell which one it is. But, oh my god. Okay.
No way he's a lawyer. Well, online degree, I guess he did pass the bar. We did confirm that at some point. So there is that. But
I want to, maybe at some point I want to reach out and do the unitary executive theory.
Yeah,
because it
it
touched on it just a little bit.
no, I mentioned that in my opening. I did say, like, it seems like everything Trump is doing is meant to, like, move us closer to unitary executive theory. We didn't. I think that might have been the only time that someone uttered the actual phrase unitary executive, but obviously we did touch on it.
Have you ever done reading into unitary executive theory?
Not much. I have like a notes page about it where I have some things linked to read whenever I feel like it, which I need to do probably sooner rather than later. But I don't know. It just seems like it entails like such obviously crazy things.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, obviously, like, okay, Biden's president, all right, and Trump gets indicted, and they say, okay, this is weaponization of the political system. Well, I mean, if we're unitary executive theory proponents, like, Biden has every legal right to do that. He has every legal right to command the FBI. He has every legal right to command the DOJ. Like, if we're proponents of unitary executive theory, what's wrong with weaponizing the legal system against political opponents?
Yeah.
That's like part of the game. So obviously that's insanity. And then shit, hold on. Let me read you the part that they always cite. I don't mean to take your stream over. All right, I just need to.
No, you're good.
I
need the content.
Okay. Constitution annotated is. Well, I looked up Article 2, Section 1. I don't know why it wouldn't just directly come up with. Okay.
Well, isn't it literally? Isn't the whole thing based off just the executive branch under a unitary executive? Like, it's a one fucking sentence. Like.
Yeah. Here it is. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. That's what they say.
Wow.
And the idea that supports all of executive power being unified in the president is so stupid, because it also in the Constitution, it talks about appointing principal officers and that you need confirmation from the Senate. If he had sole control over the executive branch, why would he need confirmation from the Senate for anything?
I know. Yep.
Or,
I mean,
yeah. And
No,
like the Supreme Court has like absolutely shit on unitary executive theory time after time after
Right.
time after time.
Oh
So,
no,
I mean,
but
that
don't
doesn't-
worry. This next court ruling, though, it'll. Trump just has to
True.
force the issue. He just has to. It's like, okay, dog.
Yeah, it's
If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.